Welcome, Snowmo Pro Snow Pro Bro. It's 9 o'clock at night. I was worried that people were sleeping soundly, so I thought I would come on stream and give everybody nightmares.
And joining me now is the Republican presidential candidate that was at the center of the debate, Vivek Ramaswamy. Mr. Ramaswamy, welcome back to Meet the Press.
It's good to talk to you, Chad.
Let me start with the tragedy that took place in Jacksonville. This is what Sheriff Waters, how he described the incident last night.
This shooting was racially motivated, and he hated black people. He wanted to kill. He targeted a certain group of people, and that's black people. That's what he said he wanted to kill, and that's very clear. And I don't know that the targets were specific, but I know that any member of that race at that time was in danger.
Both the FBI and DHS in the last 2 years have said that racially motivated violent extremism is on the rise. This is clearly part of that. What would a President Ramaswamy want the Justice Department to do about this racially motivated violence that we're seeing on the rise?
I think that every criminal deserves to be punished to the fullest extent of the law, especially when they're carrying out premeditated crimes like this one. This is a heinous crime. My heart goes out to the families who were affected by this. It is tragic, and this should not be happening in the United States.
His heart goes out to the families, guys. His heart goes out to the families, guys.
States of America. I think the fact of the matter is, Chuck, it is really just a symptom of a deeper, new form of national division that we have created. And I think one of my top jobs as the next U.S. president is really to lead with a national tone of character that reminds us of how we are all united across our diverse attributes. I think part of the problem is we have obsessed so much over racial and other genetic differences that we have forgotten all of the ways we're really the same as a country. And I do think we need a leader and in the White House developing that national character for this country again. We also do have a mental health epidemic across this country, Chuck, that really is reflective of a hunger for purpose and meaning.
Do I really need to go to this charlatan's website and point out that there's probably not a single fucking thing about mental health policy? There's not a single mental health policy on this grifter's website, on this oligarch's website. I haven't even looked at his website, but I guarantee you there's not a fucking single policy proposal for mental health. I mean, honestly, how many years are they going to lie to us, man?
What? We need to fill that void, address the mental health epidemic, but this is a tragedy and deserves to be called out as heinous. That's exactly what it was.
Why do you think there are more race-based violent crimes on the right than on the left? Why is this a little more pervasive, a lot more pervasive?
Deny. He's going to deny that.
Well, the fact of the matter is I think that there's a lot more violence that's also pervasive in parts of the country that supposedly are left-wing voter base.
Sorry. Looks like it's a whataboutism for this guy. Guys, did you know, even though the stats clearly show a grand majority of mass shooters are right-wingers, there's violence and stuff in left-wing areas too, you know. Multi-billion-dollar argument there, boys.
So I don't think this is a left versus right issue, and I don't think we should try to politicize this through partisan goggles either, Chuck, especially in the wake of a tragedy like this one.
Yeah. No, there's no clear partisan difference between the right and the left on gun violence.
Fact is, there are more black men dying on the south side of Chicago.
Do you ignore the elements that allowed this manifesto to spread online, and that what we're, it it does feel as if social media connects some of these hateful ideologies.
Well, the fact of the matter is I do think we have two standards that we're even applying if we're having a conversation about manifestos. We still have not yet even seen the manifesto of that transgender shooter in Nashville of a Christian school.
Really? Wow, man. I mean, the utter shamelessness, you know, I mean, it's amazing he doesn't say what about, but the utter shamelessness of these arguments. Let's not make it political. It literally, 30 seconds later, what about that trans shooter? Who I think was a right-winger.
And yet here we're focusing on the motive. So if we want to look at this through a politicized lens, let's look at what the political media and the political establishment is doing differentially.
Oh, so now it's cool to look at it through a political lens because we're doing it through the right's political lens. But when we were trying to look at something supposedly through the left's political lens, let's not get political. This guy is actually not very good at this. I got to say, he kind of sucks on ice at this. He's like literally just saying the things. There's no conviction. There's nothing. He's just saying the things, right? He's like cynically like, give me the presidency, please. Election was a hoax. Thank you so much. Climate change a hoax. Election, please. It's really bizarre.
In how they analyze different crimes and then create a new narrative around it. The fact is, what I said in the Nashville shooter case, I will say here.
Yeah, Chuck.
Any killing...
Keep letting them talk, Chuck. That's a great idea, bud.
Any mass killing is heinous. We need to get to the root cause of the mental health epidemic, address that. We need leadership that sets the right tone in this country. But if we are going to talk about...
All right, fuck it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Vivek Ramaswamy website. See what we got here. All right, so we are for truth. Here we go. There's that amazing debate performance. All right, we're for truth. Read now. Here we go. Okay, so here's the 10 commandments. Of course, there's no mention of mental health policy in the 10 commandments. Truth, transgenderism, climatism, wokeism, truth. Wow, so we're just completely reinventing the meaning of words. Okay, so I'm looking for shop, events, donate, get involved, media. Okay, let's try to find the mental health policy proposal that this guy is giving us here. So we got his kitchen. All right, we're just gonna mental. Okay, we're just gonna type in the word mental. Okay, not even health, just mental. See, okay, we got nothing there. Check out his homepage. Mental. Oh, here we go. Policy vision. Here we go. It was right here on his website. Okay, here we go. Wait, this can't be right. Wait a minute. On his policy proposal website, there's not a single mention of mental health. Okay, and the weaponization of government and financial markets. Okay, so radically deregulate the financial markets. Dismantle managerial bureaucracy. Okay, so give corporations whatever they want. Okay, declare independence from communist China. Does Vivek know we're a separate country from China? Well, I mean, this one's good to go, dude. We nailed it. Boom. I mean, I think this is just a misunderstanding. We're actually a completely different country from China. I don't know. There must be some confusion from Vivek. It's very confusing. I don't know. He seems to think we're China. Okay, well, that's still okay. Hold on. Let's get these all expanded out. There's got to be something about mental health in here somewhere because he's harping on how mental health is the main source of these these shootings. Mental. Golly. Now, if I'm to read this correctly, there's not a single fucking mention of mental health on his policy website. I don't know. Maybe Maybe it's my misunderstanding that he's completely full of shit. He has no plans to fix mental health, and this is just some canard he's using to brush away the brutal reality of gun violence in America. Surely there's something I'm misunderstanding. Maybe if I stare into his bleach white teeth a little longer, I'll fucking start to comprehend where he's coming from. So let's get back to it, folks. I'm missing Chuck Todd.
About manifestos and politicization, Chuck, I think it is incomplete not to look at the absence of releasing that Nashville shooter manifesto, even as of today.
Feces.
So I personally traveled to Nashville
Hello,
to call
Tina
for it.
Feces.
And that, I think, is the best evidence of real politicization in terms of what the public sees and what the public that sets the right tone in this country. But if we are going to talk about manifestos and politicization, Chuck, I think it is incomplete not to look at the absence of releasing that Nashville shooter manifesto, even as of today. That's why I personally traveled to Nashville to call for it. And that, I think, is the best evidence of real politicization in terms of what the public sees.
So, okay, let's say the manifesto's released. Will you then create a policy to help mental health? Are you going to exclude trans people from that mental health help? Probably, right? You're not going to want taxpayer dollars to help trans people, right? So, God, it's almost like 5 seconds of critical thought shows that this guy is so wildly full of shit. You would have to be an absolute fool to agree with what he's saying here. So I'm sure his interview with Joe Rogan is going to go over swimmingly.
And what the public doesn't. I want to apply one standard for everybody. I don't want to look at this through partisan goggles. I want to look at this through one standard of the rule of law.
He completely dismantled
You believe
Chuck
racism
Todd.
is a mental health issue?
Well, I do believe that racism in many cases is manufactured in a way that creates more racism in this country.
This guy has literally not answered any of Chuck Todd's questions, and Chuck is just letting him literally bukkake him. It's fucking amazing.
I cannot think of a greater way, Chuck, of driving.
When fascism comes to America, it will be because the guards at the door were asleep, and Chuck Todd is one of those guards. Yeah, no, we put Chuck Todd in charge to guard the door. How's that going for you, America?
Racism in this country than to take something else away from someone based on the color of their skin. And so is there existing racism in the United States? Of course there is. But those last burning embers of racism, the last thing I want to do is throw kerosene on it. And yet that's exactly what I believe the modern culture.
I mean, this is really amazing. Reinstituting Jim Crow, reinstituting racist bigotry under the guise of racism is over, and really the only racism left is white racism. So why do we have a bunch of laws that worry about race? This is next level nihilistic cynicism. I mean, these guys are going to get us all killed. You know, they're going to fucking get us all. I mean, what's the logical conclusion of all this? All this lying and this grifting to get into power and all this power mongering. What do you think they're going to do with it? What? Produce more Kevin Sorbo movies? They're going to round you up, man.
Is doing by creating race-based quota systems that deny people access to goods or services based on the color of their skin. The right answer to stop discrimination on the basis of race, as John Roberts said it, is to stop discriminating on the basis of race. And I am genuinely worried that we're seeing a new wave of anti-black and anti-Hispanic racism as a consequence of the so-called anti-racist movements.
Your argument comes across as blaming those that are trying to create equality for the rise in racism.
Well, the fact is, Chuck, I don't want to be playing a blame game. I want to be going towards a solution. And I am genuinely worried that those who...
I don't want to be playing the blame game, guys. I don't play the blame game. Let's head on over to his merch store where I can buy my favorite cup. The people that I'm not blaming, transgenders, the thing that I'm not blaming, that I'm not claiming exists, climate, and of course that thing that I'm not blaming for all the world's problems, wokeism. I'm not blaming anything. This isn't about politics. I mean, honestly, this is the easiest thing in the world to point out this man's hypocrisy. It's gotten to such a level. It's gotten to such an absurd level. I mean, I don't even need to really be here. You know, I don't understand what toddler is watching Chuck Todd not comprehending how full of shit this guy is. Look, if you're down with Vivek, you know he's full of shit. You know he's full of shit. But you like him because he's saying the things that you want to hear, and you don't care. You want him to achieve what his goals are. And God help you, you're broke as hell. You're broke. You're poor. I'm sure of it. There's not a single millionaire on Twitch who's watching Twitch. Okay? If you're a millionaire on Twitch, then you're one of the 10 that have succeeded.
Earnestly espouse the view. I'm going to quote Ibram Kendi from his book directly. I'm not putting words in anybody's mouth. Says the right answer to past discrimination is present discrimination. The right answer to present discrimination is future discrimination. I believe the people who hold that view are earnest about it, but I think they're wrong. And I think that that's actually creating more discrimination.
That's just some fucking guy. That ain't the whole left, bruh. Some guy wrote a book and now he's speaking for me. Wow.
And more division in our country. And I think the right answer is actually to restore colorblind equality, colorblind meritocracy, embrace what unites us across our diversity instead of celebrating our skin-deep, diverse attributes. That's how I think we reunite this country, Chuck. And it's not blaming anybody else for having a different point of view, but I do think that is a...
I mean, acknowledging systemic racism, acknowledging racism exists is not blaming anybody. It's not like... It's a fascinating inversion of wokeism. Actually, it's anti-wokeism. You know, it's amazing, right? Because we've made all this social progress because of the neoliberal Democrats, who have traded social progress for corporatism, right? Well, we can't give you a fair economy, but at least we'll give you pronouns. And they're taking that away from us. These token gestures, they can't even hold on to them. These neoliberals, they can't hold on to they've given up all the important power, but now they can't even hold on to the minor bullshit. And of course, some of it's not very minor, abortion, right?
The leader, it's my job to articulate exactly how we will unite this country. And that's exactly how I'm going to do it.
Let me move to the debate. And
this slick son of a bitch is going to, I mean, if he keeps this up, if he can consistently hold this down for next 5 years, this guy's going to be in good shape to be the next king of America.
A lot of people are asking this question. If you believe Donald Trump is the greatest president of the 21st century, he's running. Why are you running against him? Why do you think his
that's a great
second
point.
term won't be as good as his first?
Chuck Todd, slam him.
Well, look, I did say he's the best president of the 21st century. From George Bush to Barack Obama to Joe Biden to Donald Trump, I think it's not even close. Who was the best of those presidents? In my book, I judge by results. That being said, I believe I can take the America First agenda even further than Donald Trump did. I think I will be more effective in uniting this country in the process. Look at the way we're running this campaign. I'm not leaving any state behind, any city behind, no American left behind. From the south side of Chicago to Kensington, to places where traditional Republicans don't go. I think I am best positioned to deliver a landslide election, a multi-ethnic working.
You know what he's promising? He's promising to force right-wing policies and laws in left-wing areas. They're going to throw states' rights out the fucking window.
Class majority. And I do think that a landslide
is coming for you, California.
Country, not another 50.1 election. And I'm the only candidate in this race who can actually deliver that.
Look, a political neophyte outsider became president and couldn't get a lot of the things done that he wanted to get done in Donald Trump. Why do you think somebody with less experience than Donald Trump had is somehow going to make the federal government function in a way that you're outlining?
So I think there's three things I would say. The first is we have that experience to learn from. I want to build on the foundation.
He's not getting flustered. He's not falling back onto his talking points. He's nodding. He's acknowledging. This is one dangerous fascist. This is a fascist to look out for. He doesn't have the baggage of Matt Gaetz, but he has the sociopathy. This guy is the whole package, man. The more I see of him, the more I'm worried.
That Trump laid, frankly, I will invite him as an advisor and a mentor. I don't want to relearn the same lessons. I want to pick up where he left off in taking on the administrative state. The second thing, Chuck, is I do think it needs to be an outsider to take on that administrative state, but I also think it needs to be an outsider who has a deep first personal understanding of the laws and constitution of this country. I think Trump was in many cases duped by his managerial advisors, for example, who said that you can't fire employees in the federal government due to civil service protections. Read the law. Turns out those civil service protections only apply to individual firings, not to mass layoffs. Mass layoffs are absolutely what I will bring to the D.C. bureaucracy. And I think the fact that I am from a different generation, Chuck, will be an asset.
Look, businessmen don't want to hear that. The oligarchy doesn't want to hear that, because you know what the oligarchy thinks when they hear that? Chaos. Great. I'm not going to make my quarter because Vivek fired, 75% of the DMV. And now I can't hire truck drivers. Fill in the blank. Rich people, are not attracted to this language. They're going to be very turned off by this.
I'm able to reach young Americans. I'm able to reach people who haven't traditionally been brought into the mold of Republican politics. I don't even talk about Republicans and Democrats. And so I think I'll be able to build a greater moral mandate across generations that helps unite Americans around the America First agenda, rather than making it a strictly partisan affair.
Let me bring up a couple questions you didn't get a chance to answer at the debate. Most of the candidates on stage Wednesday night said Mike Pence did the right thing on January 6th. Do you agree?
I would have done it very differently. I think that there was a historic opportunity that he missed to reunite this country in that window.
He's literally advocating for destroying democracy. He's saying this would have unified. He's saying, yes, I think Mike Pence should have not certified the election, and that this would have been an opportunity. This. Do you understand that is the technical functional end of democracy? That is throwing hundreds of millions of American votes in the trash. Fuck the popular vote, but the actual result of the Electoral College. That is advocating for the dissolving rule of law. I'm not being hyperbolic in the slightest. There are people with degrees who are not holding a bong who also agree with me. Oh, appeal to authority. I'm sorry. There are scholars who understand this, and they made it very clear. Had Mike Pence done what Trump wanted him to do, that would have been the end of democracy in America. We would have then shifted into a full empire dictatorship.
Moral mandate across generations that helps unite Americans around the America First agenda, rather than making it a strictly partisan affair.
Let me bring up a couple questions you didn't get a chance to answer at the debate. Most of the candidates on stage Wednesday night said Mike Pence did the right thing on January 6th. Do you agree?
I would have done it very differently. I think that there was a historic opportunity that he missed to reunite this country in that window. What I would have said is this is a moment for a true national consensus, where there's two elements of what's required for a...
Guys, what is the vote if it isn't polling the national consensus? You know what I mean? So here he is advocating for throwing away the votes and replacing it for the national consensus, which he is... the Trump supporters fictitiously believe that because all their friends and all their town and all their little rat holes all across the fucking nation were 100% for Trump, that it was literally impossible because they've never been to a fucking city in their life, and they haven't seen an apartment building higher than 2 stories. Well, we got some people living on top of the Taco Bell, but that's about it. I've never seen a 4-story building before. I can't believe Trump lost. Everyone I know in my life, all 6 people, they all support Trump. And here he is, taking full advantage of that fallacy, saying that it was the national consensus that everyone wanted Trump. Fuck the numbers. But back to my original comment. The election is polling the nation about what the national consensus is.
To reunite this country in that window. What I would have said is this is a moment for a true national consensus where there's 2 elements of what's required for a functioning democracy in America. One is secure elections, and the second is a peaceful transfer of power. When those things come into conflict, that's an opportunity for heroism. Here's what I would have said. We need single-day voting on Election Day. We need paper ballots, and we need government-issued ID.
Okay, so the first one is they want to cut off the vote at 24 hours because Republicans predominantly vote in person, and a lot of Democrats vote by mail in a lot of areas. Now, there is some Republican areas usually filled with old people that will be taking heavy advantage of mail-in voting. But, statistically, mail-in votes come from Democrats. So if you cut off the vote at 24 hours, what happens? Tens of millions of left Americans get cut out of the entire process simply because human beings can only count so many votes so quickly. It's a wildly arbitrary limitation. It has nothing to do with election integrity. It's all about gaming the system. It is naked. It's literally like I can't think of something. I was going to say something really disgusting and horrible, and I can't think of anything better. So we're just going to move on. It's very bad. It's very obvious what you're asking for, Vivek. You're very obviously asking for a system that heavily benefits the right wing. What's interesting, though, is that left, I don't know, I think the neoliberal left would respond to that if that ever happened. They'd be like, all right, we're voting in person. We're not going to let these guys win. So I don't know how effective they think it would be, but this entire concept is such a canard. Cut it off at 24 hours? Good God, why? It only takes a couple more hours or days to count the rest of the votes. What is the problem? Oh, it's because the numbers look good in those first 24 hours for you until the rest of the votes are counted. Oh, well, that's naked. That's naked fascism. Oh, okay. I mean, naked authoritarianism. Okay, yeah, we're using the F word too much, right? Because it's not fascism, right? Are you fucking with me?
One is secure elections, and the second is a peaceful transfer of power. When those things come into conflict, that's an opportunity for heroism. Here's what I would have said. We need single-day voting on Election Day. We need paper ballots, and we need government-issued ID matching the voter file.
Aren't the ballots made out of paper already? I don't know. What is he talking about? It's been ink and paper that I've always voted on. So I don't even know what the fuck he's talking about, paper ballots. Oh, he's talking about the Dominion voting machines. I'm okay with that. Yeah. I have nothing against paper ballots. Yeah, not using the computers. I mean, I've seen loose evidence that some of them are kind of easy to play around with. I mean, the fact of the matter is, though, let's be real. If these voting machines were so easily hackable, the Republicans would say nothing about it because they'd be taking full advantage of that. The fact that they're pretending that there's an issue and trying to fix it tells me that the voting machines are actually pretty good at what they do, and that the Republicans have probably tried and failed to do what they can, hacking them or changing the results. I've heard some horror stories like, oh my God, this voting machine spit out an unencrypted CSV and I was able to modify the numbers. I've heard some stuff like that, but the claims that Trump makes against Dominion are demonstrably false because they've already been proven false in court by the Fox News lawsuits. Fox News is losing hundreds of billions or some insane number because of the Dominion claims that there was Dominion. There was issues with the Dominion voting machines. So, okay, so that's the canard there. And then what was the third one?
Election day. We need paper ballots and we need government issued ID.
Okay, well, and then the government issued ID, that's an old school Republican way to stymie the vote because it's class, and it's funny. Chuck Todd should bring this up since he was talking about racism, because it's literally classic racism. It is fucking the OG chef's kiss racism. Why? What am I talking about? We're talking about IDs. Okay, guys. Black people predominantly vote Democrat when they do vote. Unfortunately, because of the issues around poverty and inequality, large black populations will live in dense city areas, or just dense areas, maybe not a city per se, but kind of dense areas, and they will use public transit. They won't get a car. Look, if you live in a rural neighborhood, you might not understand how this works, but if you live in the city, you don't need a driver's license. You don't need an ID. You never go get one. You never get one because you don't fucking need it. You don't need a driver's license, so they don't check your ID at fucking Safeway anymore. So you never get an ID. So by requiring voter ID, and right-wing places will do this in like really, really southern areas that have a heavy black population, they'll pass voter ID laws. And look at that! Hundreds of thousands of people no longer vote anymore because they didn't have the time to go to the DMV, to go and do the whole thing, to get an ID so that they can then sign up to vote and register to vote, and then they show up to vote. It adds another layer of complexity to getting your right to vote. And of course, people are too busy working. It's not that they're lazy. Let's not buy into the fucking bullshit. Okay, they're extremely hardworking people, and that's why they're too goddamn tired or too fucking busy to go stand in line at the DMV for a little piece of plastic that then allows them to fill out a form that then tells them that they can fucking vote. So that's why this racist, this fascist wants voter ID. So I hope I explained the three canards for you here. This man is so full of shit. Boy, I was about to say something racist.
Matching the voter file. And if we achieve that, then we have achieved victory. And we should not have any further complaint about election integrity.
So what would you have done
through the Senate?
So what would you have done with Mike Pence? You would have not certified the election?
So in my capacity as president of the Senate, I would have led through that level of reform. Then on that condition, certified the election results, served it up to the president, President Trump, then to sign that into law. And on January...
So no, then yes, is what he's saying. I would initially do it, and then we would do some kind of investigation, and then I would have certified it once I got the numbers that I liked. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not quite sure.
Complain about election integrity.
So
I would have driven it through the Senate.
So what would you have done with Mike Pence? You would have not certified the election?
So in my capacity as president of the Senate, I would have led through that level of reform. Then on that condition, certified the election results, served it up to the president, President Trump, then to sign that into law, and on January 7th, declared the re-election campaign pursuant to a free and fair election. I think that was a missed opportunity, but that's the kind of spirit we're going to need to unite this country rather than sweeping.
I am officially gaslit. I am so confused. I don't know what's real anymore. I mean, what the fuck did he just say? Chuck Todd isn't going to... Could you clarify that statement? Could you give me a little more about the process that you would have followed instead of certifying the election as it was done for the last 100+ years? What exactly would you have done step by step? Is Chuck not going to hold him to that? This is This is salacious. This man is saying he agrees with Donald Trump that Mike Pence shouldn't have certified the election. And is Chuck Todd going to hold him to this? Is he really going to be able to skate on this?
Those concerns under the rug.
11 months ago, well, excuse me, and what? No, excuse me.
Yes. Yes. God help us all. God help us all. God help us all. We got Chuck Todd at the gates, guys. Oh, God help us all. Chuck Todd at the gates. Chuck Todd, man. He gets paid millions of dollars to call himself a journalist. God help us all. This is the fourth estate. This is the fourth estate. Oh.
In your book, which wasn't written that long ago, you wrote, the fact that all of our governmental institutions so unanimously found no evidence of significant fraud is telling. Furthermore, I've talked to many Republicans at all levels of government, and not one has ever presented convincing evidence that the 2020 election was stolen from President Trump.
Okay, all right. I'm a little hyperbolic here. Here's Chuck showing, this is his own book, his own book where he admits reality and now he doesn't. All right, let's see what Vivek has to say about this. Nuh-uh. Nuh-uh.
Very few have seriously tried. I don't believe that most Republican politicians actually think the election was stolen. So you went from there,
let me address
and
this.
11 months later, your views have changed on January 6th. Again, this book was written September of 2022.
Chuck, I'm happy to address that if you're interested.
2022?
Yeah, so and read exactly that chapter in the book. I drew a sharp distinction between what I did see as the interference in the election that mattered, which was interference by big tech. I'm data-driven. There's hard data showing that many voters, many independent voters, would have changed their result enough to influence the outcome of the election if they...
So I've heard him reference this study a couple times. Who wants to bet that if we took the time to look up this study and and dig into the how it did its study and where it's getting its numbers and who did the study and their biases, and who wants to bet that if we were to look into this study, we would find a litany of issues and conclusions that are spurious at best? Who wants to bet? Who wants to bet? I bet you $5,000 right now that study he's referencing is full of shit.
had been exposed to what we now know to be the truth about the Hunter Biden laptop story. By contrast, I've also been clear. I have not yet seen evidence that there was ballot fraud of a scale that would have changed that result. I'm just responding to data on both fronts.
Who's
but
got
the fact
the money?
of the matter is, if we're looking at reuniting this country, there are serious concerns on both sides, but especially on the right, about the concern of elections and election interference and ballot fraud, but also big tech interference. And there's a very clear result and way we can address that. I've offered a clear consensus that everybody can get behind. It is practical. And if people really think that debating this issue is a threat to our...
He literally brags about how he's going to destroy the fourth estate. Gee, I wonder what quote-unquote practical solution he has for this problem. It's probably just, the ability to sue media organizations for slander, right? And, basically slander is using my name in print. So what he hopes to do is create a whole ecosystem where the only kind of journalism that can exist is sanitized, politically approved journalism, and everything else is considered slander and is shut down by law. Guys, this is a tyrant. Bloomberg was very similar. I gotta say, Bloomberg was really, really similar to this. Just like, yeah, guys, the solution is fascism. Hello. Get me in there and I'll double down. I'll fire everybody and institute a full authoritarian government. That's the solution. That was Bloomberg. So it doesn't surprise me that an oligarch is up here saying, yeah, the solution is that you make me a king and then I do whatever I want. What's shocking is the dum-dums that are going to be glomming onto this man because they're desperate to keep the Trump train going. They're desperate for that. So I don't know. I know he's brown, but he's saying all the right things. And this guy is slicker than a puddle of oil. Okay? This guy's slick as snot on a doorknob.
Our democracy, that should be an easy consensus to be able to rally around, and that's how I'll lead as president.
First of all, you never talked about the tech stuff in your book. This is a new thing. It is
that's false, Chuck.
You have not
Chuck,
talked about
that's
this
absolutely
Hunter
false.
Biden
In Nation of Victims
aspect of it. We were looking
Chuck,
for it.
I think you have not. I think you have not read Nation. I think you have not read Nation of Victims. Literally read the book. There was about 20 pages of content devoted to this, and I also bring it up in
You didn't write about
Woking.
election fraud that way.
It's fine,
but
you don't have an obligation to read my book. But if you do, quote it correctly.
We have been, and let me quote it again. You're referring to Republicans. We use stolen election theories as a backdoor to embracing our own victim identity path, pursuing an
Wait
easy
a minute.
path.
Damn, dude, is the book filled with shit like this? Oh man, goddamn. What did he leave the left just recently? He's going to have to do a I left the left narrative.
To power. Throughout this entire book, you mock the entire January 6th aspect. You absolutely criticize Donald Trump for being a sore loser. You write about it in a way of making your point that we've become a nation of victims. And right now on TV, you're doing the exact opposite.
I'm not. Chuck, actually,
Oh my God, Sticks, you fucking rule, dude.
I want to be very clear. I preached to conservative audiences I was in Iowa over the last 2 days, and what do I tell them? We're not going to be victims. We're going to be victorious. Whether I'm talking to the left or the right, I say the same thing. I've also been very clear, Chuck, and I want to be clear today, that I would have made very different judgments than Donald Trump did that day and on many of the matters in his path out of office. But there's a difference between a bad judgment and a crime. And what I've been clear about is when we criminalize those bad judgments, that's an abuse of the justice system. It undermines trust not only in our elections, but in our justice system. We have to be able to draw those.
Easiest thing in the world to point out right-wing hypocrisy. Are we supposed to believe that he would not have the same exact opinion if Hillary was going through this? Absolutely not. He's a complete fucking hypocrite. Moving on.
Distinctions. And I do think, Chuck, it's going to take that kind of leader who can actually preach truth to both tribes in this country to reunite this country. So did Donald Trump make all the right judgments? No, I said so then, I say so now. Was that illegal and should we criminalize it? Absolutely not. But I want to lead this nation forward. That is my goal, not to look in the rearview mirror. And in order to do that, I think on the election integrity issue, we have an...
Ooh, it's the Obama classic. I've seen him do this a couple times. He's studied Obama really, really closely. And he's corrupted it and churned it into this evil weapon. It's Obama was always a corporatist. So it's not like it wasn't corruptible or corrupted already in its own neoliberal way. But god damn, dude, he has taken the Obama, playbook and Obama's twisting in his chair, dude. He has to make a statement.
Opportunity to put this debate behind us by single-day voting on Election Day as a national holiday with paper ballots and government-issued ID. This should not be controversial. And if that helps reunite this country, as I believe it will, that's exactly how I must lead as president, and that's my commitment.
All right, again, from your book, No One Likes a Sore Loser. That's one of the worst victimhood complexes of all. Are you referring to Donald Trump?
I referred in that chapter both to Stacey Abrams and to Donald Trump. And I think that the answer is we need leaders who ultimately stand for victory over victimhood. We did have a victimhood culture that started on the left in this country, the oppression hierarchy.
You're right, Sticks.
My worry, Chuck, is that can spread to the right. And the way that this so-called culture war will end is not with a bang, but with a whimper, where each side imitates the methods of the other. That related even to some of our earlier conversation on seeing each other based on the color of our skin.
Wow. Wow, dude. He's fully aware. Like this is so coached. This is so trained. He's actually 100% fully aware of his own hypocrisies and everything. He's fully aware of what he's doing to the Obama playbook. And wow, man, this guy is next generation fascist. This is how they're going to do it, dude. This guy's writing a whole new playbook on how to be a crypto fascist in this modern era. This is fascinating.
but with a whimper, where each side imitates the methods of the other. That related even to some of our earlier conversation on seeing each other based on the color of our skin. I think that is deeply divisive. What we need in this country is to revive the shared ideals that unite all of us as Americans. The pursuit of excellence, meritocracy, free speech, the rule of law. I genuinely believe, Chuck, that most Americans, regardless of black or white, red or blue, share these ideals in common, and that's what I'm reviving.
I understand that, but again, let me go.
Is that your struggle? You gonna hail victory for us, Vivek? God damn! I mean, listen to that unifying around like this mystical national idea of what a nation looks like. That is
Methods of the other. That related even to some of our earlier conversation on seeing each other based on the color of our skin. I think that is deeply divisive. What we need in this country is to revive the shared ideals that unite all of us as Americans. The pursuit of excellence, meritocracy, free speech, the rule of law. I genuinely believe, Chuck, that most
those were token slogans. If you're plugged in, you have a very good idea of what this unified vision would look like.
Americans, regardless of black or white, red or blue, share these ideals in common, and that's what I'm reviving.
I understand that, but again, let me go back to quoting you. The Republican Party seems to be moving towards the position that any races it wins are legitimate.
No, and once again, neoliberals thinking with the gotchas, the academic gotchas are going to do a fucking thing, you know? Oh, we got you. You said something else. You said something else. You know how quickly that's hand waved away in the Republican, oh, they're all liars. Moving on. Anyway, I'm going to vote for the fascist. Oh, I know, honey. They're all liars. Whatever. Yeah. Oh, he said that like a year ago. They're all liars. It's okay. So you're voting for the best one then? I'm voting for the liar that supports my values. You know how quickly all this is hand waved away? Like Chuck Todd thinks he's slam dunking, like he's fucking slam-a-jamming up on Vivek and the whole right wing. Oh, they're both sides. Moving on. Thanks for your 18-minute, because Chuck Todd thinks he's slam dunking, dude. Chuck Todd thinks he's slam-a-jamming. Right? Oh, well, you said in your book a year ago this, and you said in your book a year ago that. Okay, bro. Cool.
The Republican Party seems to be moving towards the position that any races it wins are legitimate and any it loses were stolen. It's just the preferred conservative brand of victimhood, a knee-jerk kind of sore losing more common to playground than great republics. You seem to, at the time you wrote your book, believe this was potentially damaging to the rule of law. This was not a way to have a democracy thrive. And you're now speaking in a way that gives essentially a permission.
I get it now. So he wrote this book when he was still in his, he was still wrapping his head around the Obama playbook. And this is him kind of emulating the Obama playbook. I get it now. Okay, this is making more sense. So, okay, and I see the pivot. Into the Trumpism and the fusion of these two playbooks. It's all coming to view for me. I can see it so clearly now.
Republics. You seem to, at the time you wrote your book, believe this was potentially damaging to the rule of law. This was not a way to have a democracy thrive. And you're now speaking in a way that gives essentially a permission slip to election deniers to believe there's some truth to something that you yourself have yet to find evidence of.
Watch him brush this away.
Chuck, I stand by everything I said. That was a book where 11 of the 12 chapters were dedicated to a lot of left-wing victimhood in this country, but it would have been incomplete for me not to call out my own tribe. And my point is, I don't want to see this in terms of red versus blue. We've created an incentive structure in this country, whoever you are, whatever your skin color, increasingly whatever your political affiliation, to see yourself as a victim. I refuse to see myself as a victim. Hardship is not the same thing as victimhood. We are going through hardship as a country right now, including many conservatives. Hardship is sometimes not a choice. Victimhood is a choice. And so whoever the American is that I'm talking to, I say we do not choose victimhood. We choose victory. That is who we are. And I think we can be stronger on the other side of it. So, Chuck, this isn't some game of gotcha. I stand by everything I've written over the last 3 years in the books that I have, except for a few areas on facts where, as the new facts have come up, I've changed my mind. But in the core theses, I'm in the exact place I am as when I wrote those books. But the point of the matter is, I'm not in this race.
I've seen banana peels with more traction, okay? Slick as a puddle of oil, okay? This guy could lubricate the spaceship.
To lead a political party. I am in this race to lead a nation. I'm using the Republican Party as a vehicle to advance an America First agenda that I think many Americans, most Americans can rally behind. That's what we're going to need.
One thing I want to clear up. I know you've only voted in 2 presidential elections. Where did you vote in 2020, and how did you vote?
I voted in Ohio, and during the coronavirus pandemic, I voted by mail. That's exactly how I voted. And you know what? And the fact of the matter is, I think we should have one standard for everybody. But for me, for much of my 20s, I was disaffected from politics.
This motherfucker voted by mail. Guys, make it stop. I believe we need a 24-hour holiday. It's he I mean, I feel like this was like 5-6 months ago. He was coming up with, okay, I'm going to come at it with this angle. I'm going to come at it with that angle. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that. This feels like a master plan. This doesn't feel like a person. This feels like a, like a consensus of multiple people.
The fact of the matter is, I understand why young people are disaffected. I was uninspired by John Kerry and George Bush. I voted Libertarian that year, or by John McCain and Barack Obama, or Mitt Romney or Barack Obama. So I don't make any bones about that. I actually talk about it in my speeches.
And you're also uninspired by Donald Trump in 2016, right?
I was skeptical of Donald Trump in 2016. That is accurate, because I had grown up in a generation where I felt like we had been lied to. From weapons of mass destruction in Iraq to the 2008 financial bailouts. Those are Republican examples.
Dude.
To Democrat examples of the Russia collusion hoax. So
can Chuck throw in the fucking towel? Dude, this was embarrassing. This was 18 minutes of Chuck getting a fucking fat dick slapped on his face. I mean, this should be X-rated. I'm going to get kicked off fucking Twitch showing this shit. This was pornographic. Dude. Vivek did everything he wanted to do with Chuck. I have rarely seen once a week. I mean honestly, this was embarrassing. Chuck thought he had it slamming jamming, dude. He got danced on.
So I was deeply skeptical, but I judged based on results, and I voted for him with confidence in 2020.
Vivek Ramaswamy, like I said, you became the center of the debate. We will be following your campaign as it goes on. Be safe on the trail, and thanks for coming on and sharing your views.
That was embarrassing.
Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate it.
That was embarrassing. And Chuck doesn't even see it. Maybe he does. Maybe he's just hiding it really well, but so the last thing I wanted to show people tonight, this right-wing hellscape, it's real. They want to do it to us, man. They're going to take it all. So here we have, Vivek over here. I mean, it's just proud fascism. It's just like out and proud. Yep, we're doing it. We're doing it. And Chuck Todd can't. He can't even do it, dude. It's amazing. But so this is a little peek into the future, right? Because look, they're all hypocrites. Oh, don't groom my kids. Don't groom my kids. Can't tell me how I teach my kids. Can't tell me how to do that, Can't tell me how to think. Can't tell me how to live. So PragerU is now being taught in Florida schools. And look, if you don't understand, you either know PragerU is demonstrably factually incorrect. I love that word. But I mean, you can demonstrate it. There's real history, there's academic history, and that's the thing with these right wingers, the like Prager, because academia rejects religion. You know, the truth about religion, because they reject it as fact, right? And they when they come up with theories and they talk about history, you know, they don't mention any of that biblical stuff because it didn't fucking happen. So these right-wing evangelicals or Jewish right-wingers, they've been on this crusade, I mean, since time immemorial, really. But in the modern era, it's become very smart and calculated, and well-crafted. And it's an entire alternate history. It's an entire recontextualizing of like literally everything: science, politics, history, and I'm talking like things like mathematics. If it conflicts with a religious dogma, especially Judaism, in the scientific world, PragerU will have a video on it that's like the truth about fill in the blank, right? So they have the truth about climate, and it's a lot of pseudoscience, you know, and they, because, oh, well, we have our experts. We hired a bunch of shills who will, you know, who have a PhD, and they'll say anything. And then, of course, they say the same thing about the people that I trust. And there you go. And there you have it. So now Florida children in Florida schools have to watch right-wing religious dogma being presented in an academic setting as fact. So here we are. This is just a little peek into the future that we're all entering. Okay? They're not stopping. They're not going to stop until they get this. They're not stopping. They're not pausing. They're not hesitating. They're doubling down. They're tripling down. And they will defeat the neoliberals, the Chuck Todds, the Joe Bidens, the Kamala Harrises. They will be defeated. And we will be in a different era. It will be a time of chaos and violent pushback. I have no idea how, but that, to me, that's the logical conclusion of an authoritarian government's takeover. There's no other way. They'll start stripping rights. They'll fuck up the economy and give it all to the rich. People will be miserable. People will get angry. People will start to spontaneously organize. And they'll need to keep the lid on everything. It's happened 100 million times. Anyway, this is what they want to teach your kids now.
Police were targeting the black community and purposefully killing unarmed black men. As the false claims of racial targeting spread, so did the anger and violence.
So this is them reframing BLM not as a protest movement created because of racism in the police and violence from the police against black people. No. It was listen to this.
False claims of racial targeting spread, so did the anger and violence. Throughout the summer.
Okay, so it was the left-wing media that was lying to everybody that it was racially motivated.
Mateo and his family were shocked and worried as they watched on the news where neighborhoods around LA were being
off-world,
burned and looted.
It's happening. Yeah. And this is why now every time the word protest is brought up, oh, you mean riots? And it's like, I mean, look at the stats. Look at this. I hope Mike shows the stats on how peaceful BLM actually was. I got a lot of problems with BLM now, folks. BLM is a perfect example of what happens when you got corruption. It happens to everybody. Too much power, too much corruption. You know, BLM founders of BLM buying mansions and embezzlement or who fucking a bunch of bullshit. Nothing to do with the movement, that's for sure.
You just got a small taste of right-wing propaganda produced by PragerU specifically for your kids. And now that propaganda has been approved for Florida schools, which means that if you live in Florida and your kid goes to public school, they could be taught one of the following lessons. A cartoon Booker T. Washington distorting the history of the Civil War. A narrator explaining that embracing climate denialism is akin to participating in the Warsaw Uprising. An instructional video telling girls that conforming to gender stereotypes is a great way to embrace their femininity. A dramatization of the supposedly civilizing, benevolent era of British colonial rule in India. If that all sounds positively racist and Orwellian to you, well, congratulations, you are a normal person. But this is going to be something that is offered to schools in Florida now, which isn't too surprising if you've been following along. I mean, you could argue that it's par for the course considering that the state is now supposedly teaching about the quote-unquote benefits of slavery. Not to mention the fact that they also banned an African-American AP Studies course and all LGBTQ+.
See what I mean? See that reaction from Off-World? You either understand how dangerous this situation is, or you're just completely oblivious. You know, I don't think I finished that thought when I was first saying it, and I went off and rambled. But, you know, you either understand how insane, how dangerous, and of course how wildly hypocritical, of course, it is for right-wingers to be pushing it's so political, right? All these skewed ideas of what they think history is, mixed with a heavy bag of religious and other ignorances, I guess is what the word I was looking for.
It's material for all grades, and this is all happening because the goal isn't to educate, it's to indoctrinate. So do you know how they keep constantly claiming that the left wants to indoctrinate your kids with CRT and woke ideologies? Actually, they're the ones who want to indoctrinate your kids with propaganda. And the propaganda that they're using is...
Once again, lefties, stop smirking. Stop being so proud that you pointed out some of the most hypocritical human beings on planet Earth are yet again being hypocrites. Can we please get beyond this? I mean, just anything. I don't know. I don't know what. Just stop patting yourself on the back for pointing out the hypocrisy of the right wing. I'm so tired of it.
Is not even subtle. Case in point.
What am I bitching about? I'm such an asshole. What am I even bitching about? People love it when you point out the hypocrisy of the right wing. What, you know, it's like we do it so often. It's like a crutch. That's my problem. It's a crutch, right? Because we think it's like effective. You think we've done something. It feels like we've done something. It's like a placebo effect, right? Because it's like, got him, hypocrite, slam dunk. It like feels like we got him, right? Like, but we don't, because they're shameless. It doesn't matter, right? So we need a whole new tactic. It's like in that horror movie, right? When everyone's like trying to shoot the monster with guns, but no, you got to use your flashlights. You got to use a super soaker filled with water, like in Ernest, Scared Stupid, my favorite horror movie. You know, super soakers filled with milk. That's what it was. Right? So you're like, you know, army, yeah, you got to use milk. You got to use milk. They're like, no, we got to use guns. And then they don't work. That's my problem with the lefty gotchas. That's why I'm an asshole. That's better than the alternative, which is that I'm just a bitter asshole, horrifically jealous of Mike Figurino's amazing success, and I wish him the best. There's nothing to do with that.
And the propaganda that they're using is not even subtle. Case in point.
Despite our nation not always
Yeah, no, both sides, totally, bro, both sides. Yeah, no, the right is not engaging in a campaign to destroy democracy, right? Right, Foxtrot? Right wing is just like misunderstood, like both sides, right? Both sides, right? I mean, January 6th, that wasn't even an insurrection attempt, right, Foxtrot? Right, buddy? Yeah, both sides, man. So, Foxtrot, was January 6th an attempt by the right wing to subvert democracy? Okay. Incorrect, says Dwayne Schrute from The Office. Yes. Do you still support the right-wing party after they attempted to destroy democracy? Come on, Foxtrot. Don't make me do it, baby. Don't make me do it. Hey! All right, you can stay. Cool. All right. Nice. Thank you, Foxtrot. I don't know. Left-wing indoctrination? What do you mean? Like, what? Teaching people science? Is that indoctrination? You know? What are you talking about? Do you have any evidence of left-wing indoctrination? And don't you dare say transgenderism in schools. Jesus fucking Christ. That's such a right-wing thing. If you're pretending to be a left-winger while busting out they're trying to turn my kids gay, fuck you.
living up to our declaration that all men are created equal, I am still so proud and thankful to be an American.
Even though you were a slave?
Exactly, because I was and not anymore.
So that was Booker T. Washington explaining to cartoon characters Leo and Layla, who traveled back in time to 1910 to have that conversation with him, by the way, that even though he was a slave, he's still very much proud to be an American. Because that's certainly something that you want to emphasize when you're teaching kids about slavery. Yes, we did all of these terrible things, but you should still love America because this former slave loves America, so you should too. It's just so clownish, right? And the goal very clearly is not to inform and educate, it's to indoctrinate. And what's also bizarre about that clip is that Booker T. Washington, according to PragerU, is also a fan of the economics of Milton Friedman. Now, keep in mind, they had that conversation in 1910. Milton Friedman wasn't born until 1912, but for some reason, that's the flavor of economics that Booker T. Washington, again, a former slave, thought that it was necessary to push on Leo and Layla. Let's listen.
So, if we can take care of ourselves by learning skills and working hard and improving who we are, then it won't be so bad if life gets unfair.
And
I mean, look, Foxtrot, I don't know how young you are, but you're completely leaving out the concept of purple states, the concept, the idea of what you see, you know, the reality of what you see in Texas, which is, you know, big red state with two or three massive purple cities, you know, massive purple cities. So I don't know. It seems like you're thinking, honestly, and I'm not trying to be an asshole. I just am, dude. I just can't fucking help myself. So I'm sorry. I'm legitimately sorry. I know a lot of assholes say I'm sorry, and they don't mean it. I should know. But I'm actually legitimately sorry. But your mindset seems naive and simplistic. I know.
it can all start with you making yourself some snacks.
It's kind of like being able to do more for yourself not only gives you freedom, but also gives you a shield against people trying to hold you back.
That is exactly right. I hope this is the lesson you kids came looking for.
That's right, Leo. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
That is unbearable, man. They force kids to sit through that. That's a fucking war crime.
So remember that accepting government handouts is never commendable unless you're a multinational corporation. You know, at this point, I would not be surprised if they got Harvey Milk to teach kids a lesson about why gender ideology is bad or something like that, although they probably wouldn't feature an openly gay character. But you get the point, right? They are bringing back these people from...
Look, man, did the have the Democrats ever stormed the Capitol, smeared shit on the walls, and advocated for the vice president to not certify the election, thereby destroying American democracy? Have the Democrats ever done that? I fucking hate the Democrats, dude. But if you are incapable of seeing a difference between full-blown comical fascism and just boring-ass milquetoast neoliberal corporatism, then what the fuck am I going to be able to do for you, bro? You literally don't even know where the fuck you are. You know what I'm saying? You were teleported in a completely different country and you can't speak the language. You are so green. I was going to say something stupid. I don't know. Something about envy. I don't know. Something stupid. But come on, man. You can't distinguish comical fucking fascism and milquetoast neoliberal corporatism. There's a fucking difference.
From history, and they are bastardizing their memories, what they stood for, all so they can bring...
Look, Foxtrot, I'm not here to pat you on the back, dude. Okay, the kid gloves are coming off. Okay, pull your head out of your ass, because you know what, dude? The fucking fascists are literally on the cusp of winning. These comical fascists that I'm talking about, we're on the cusp of a new fucking reality. Okay? We don't have time for you to fucking catch up. So pull your head out of your ass immediately. There's a real problem.
Brainwash children. And in PragerU's video announcing that they're officially a vendor for Florida schools, well, they suggested that this is only the beginning of their educational conquest.
Friends, I'm ecstatic to make this groundbreaking announcement. PragerU is now making it into schools. A couple of years ago, we launched PragerU Kids because parents have been frustrated. Teachers have been frustrated. We have seen that our schools have been hijacked by the left. They have been politicized. They have been used by union bosses. They have been doing everything under the sun, not for our children. And so we have launched PragerU Kids, and we started providing great edutainment, educational entertainment for children across America. But we didn't just stop there. Now we're actually making turnkey curriculum content for your schools. And the state of Florida just announced that we are now becoming an official vendor. This means that if you are a teacher in Florida, you cannot be fired for using PragerU content.
Foxtrot, I have a simple 3-step program that you can use to create political change, actually. I'm actually the only progressive leftist commentator who has an answer for your question. Listen up. Step 1, and this is a big one for you. You need to inform yourself. You gotta dig in. You gotta watch some videos, read some stuff. You gotta dig in for and steep yourself in it. Not just a couple hours and then call it good. So step 1. Hey, shut the fuck up. Listen to me. Yeah, you do make a good point. I'm sorry. I take that back. You make a good point. You are here, the most informative political Twitch channel on Twitch. So step 1, inform yourself. Step 2, join a progressive political organization or a union or run for office or something. Put your name on something, some organization, some group you agree with, some group that's getting out there, because they're there, man. They're in every fucking neighborhood. They're in every city. So step 2, sign up. Because step 3, and this is the part no one can do, you got to put in the work. What do you think I'm doing here? Wasting away 10 fucking 45 at night talking about the rising tide of fascism. You think I'm making money? This is activism. I do this because I believe in this shit. Okay? And you need to have the same mentality, because step 3, you got to put in the work. You got to ask yourself, what have I done for the movement? You're not going to change the world, but you can change a little bit. So there you go. There's your fucking answer.
Content. You can also rely on our resources in your classrooms. And we're just getting started. Additional states are signing up. Go to our website, prageru.com, and find out which other states have been working closely with us so that we become an approved vendor in additional states across America. You should know that the left is trying to fight us. They're trying to take us out of the schools, and we need your support.
It's, of course, much more complicated than the 3-step program, but I've boiled it down to the 3-step program as like an elevator pitch, right? So please don't think that, right, that I'm a moron. Okay, I'm just a drug addict. Okay, there's difference. Okay, look, I need to double down and let you know, okay, PragerU is not factually accurate. It is not scientifically accurate. It is not historically accurate. It is not factually accurate. And the fact that right-wingers are aggressively pushing this shit in our schools says everything about their agenda and where they want to take us in the next 10 to 25 years. You know, they have a real plan. They have a real agenda, and they're executing it. What is the left doing?
So please go to prageru.com and sign our petition to keep PragerU in schools.
Actually, don't do that. But it's important to know that they're already anticipating pushback, and they have a plan to mitigate the blowback. But PragerU
No, Mike, you're adorable. I'm such a bitter asshole. Mike, you're doing great, bud.
is not alone, believe it or not, because even though they were approved in schools, well, Turning Point USA's effort to push back against supposed woke indoctrination in higher education has only expanded since they got started, and Charlie Kirk announced that 50 new college and high school field organizers are being trained at TPUSA's headquarters, and he announced that TPUSA actually has more high school.
Speaking of activism, TPUSA is an organization I bring up all the time because it's a clear, obvious example of how the fascists are investing money, time, effort to organize at a local level to change local politics so that they can change national politics. They are outward comical fascists led by Charlie Kirk. I'm not blowing smoke, man. I'm really not. I'm really not. Charlie Kirk is a proud fascist. Of course, he doesn't call himself a fascist. Fascists never call themselves fascists. They never do. Unless you're Nick Fuentes.
School chapters than college chapters, which is something he pointed out in response to this article from The Hill that talks about how 12th grade boys are trending conservative. Now, right-wing indoctrination in education is a serious issue, and I don't want to downplay that, and I don't want to downplay the role that Turning Point USA has had in brainwashing students across the country, but correlation does not necessarily equal causation, so it doesn't prove that Turning Point USA specifically is driving this change. But there is a change that's occurring, although it is being somewhat overstated. But typically what we see when we look at public opinion polls is that Gen Z is overwhelmingly left-leaning and liberal. And yeah, that's true, but mainly because there are so many girls who are younger that are liberal and left-leaning that they kind of skew the entire generation to the left. And when it comes specifically to the poll cited in that Hill article that Charlie Kirk shared, well, it contends that most 12th grade boys are apolitical, but the ones who are politically active are far more likely to be conservative than liberal. They explain in annual surveys over the last 3 years, roughly 1/4 of high school seniors self-identified as conservative or very conservative on the Monitoring the Future survey, a scholarly endeavor that dates to the 1970s. Only 13% of boys identified as liberal or very liberal in those years. In the 2022 Monitoring the Future survey, the largest group of senior boys, more than 2/5, claimed no politics at all, answering the liberal conservative question with none of the above or I don't know. Nearly 1/5 identified as moderate. Only 36% selected liberal or conservative as an ideology, and only there did the trend emerge. So to the extent that 12th grade boys are political, they are much more likely to be conservative, at least according to this poll, but still most of them are likely to be apolitical. And that to me makes sense because I don't think that I fully developed my political views until I was in college. But if you
Yeah,
asked
no,
me back in high
same
school
here, same here.
if I was conservative or liberal, I probably would have self-identified as conservative.
I remember being like in the 10th grade and like talking about like I heard Romney was a flip-flopper. I had no idea what that meant. But I told my teacher that because he was like, "What do you think of Romney?" I go, "I think he's a flip-flopper." Because I heard it on the fucking TV, dude. I had no idea what that meant. I kind of still don't. I think he was like flip-flopping on a policy. I don't know. It's comical going back to scandals, political scandals from the past, like Howard Dean. Yeah.
As well, because I was raised in a very socially conservative evangelical household, right? But the apolitical nature is exactly what these propagandists are looking at, because that is a blank slate. And that's why the propaganda is so important, because if the slate is clean, then you can kind of fill that void with your own political views. So a lot of these high school boys, they also could have been apolitical as well, but perhaps something got them into politics and made them conservative. I mean, there's a number of things, right? Jordan Peterson's self-help
Miami
book was
Vice
popular with
over
young
on
men.
Kick.
Perhaps they started listening to him, and then they found the Daily Wire through him, and then that kind of indoctrinated them.
Yeah. The Howard Dean scream ruined his career. Do you think what Howard Dean did was comparable or worse to what Donald Trump has done? I'm curious. Over there on Kick, I have a good feeling where you're going to go, but I think I've seen you here before, so that maybe means you're not a right winger. Everyone's a right winger now. It's the new hip thing. Is just accepting nihilism and embracing the void. Everyone's doing it, man. Just give up.
Into right-wing politics, or maybe they're unsuccessful with the ladies at school, so they seek out the help of pickup artists, and then they end up discovering Andrew Tate and the manosphere, or perhaps they discover Steven Crowder or Ben Shapiro on YouTube through one of their pop culture rants or comedy sketches. I mean, these apolitical 12th graders are simply conservative voters in waiting. They're just waiting to be activated according to these propagandists, which is why this effort is so widespread.
You know, oh my God, Sticks. I mean, I don't know, but I have a feeling. You know, I don't know. I got a gut feeling you might be right about that one. Yeah, I'm sure there's some numbers that would back that up one way or the other. You know, surely we've been asking children what they think about politics for a while now. One would hope.
But even though right-wing indoctrination and education is becoming a bigger problem, young men in particular are still going to fall down the right-wing rabbit hole regardless if it's being shoved down their throats or not. But still, Gen Z overall skews left and liberal, which in theory is a sign for hope. But don't become complacent, because the right certainly isn't, right?
No, and that's exactly why we see the right becoming so zealous, becoming, doubling down, tripling down, and like accelerating their plans, because they see the poll numbers. They see the numbers that Mike here is talking about. The Republican Party has never been more unpopular, especially amongst the youth. Never. It's the party of Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump, who literally wears diapers. I mean, it's nowhere near hip and cool. No matter how many Ben Shapiro's pretend it is, no matter how many Nick Fuenteses catch lonely men in some, disgusting dragnet on the bottom of the 4chan ocean, right? Doesn't matter how many he dredges up. The demographics are very clear. Republicans are losing relevance every single day, and of course their constituency is dying out. So you're either if you're if you become politically active, in your 20s, you're far more likely to become a Democrat than you are a Republican, no matter how many PragerU videos that they make. So they see that. They see the demographic tide shifting. And what they see is their own oblivion. They see the end of their party because, if democracy exists, there's going to be no one to vote for us. So we either change as a party or we change democracy. And this is what we see. This is that plan.
Hence the relentless push for them to spread their propaganda in schools. Informing and educating younger generations must be an active effort
both sides,
by the left,
both sides, guys, both sides.
Is cognizant of, and they're.
I am positive fucking absa fucking total fucking lootly fed up with the political cynics and nihilists who are like, both sides, both sides, both sides. They want to desperately hold on to this Republican idea that is completely fucking annihilated. They piss in our face. Oh, both sides, both sides, both sides. Which side planned and executed a goddamn insurrection? Both sides, both sides, both sides. BLM riots. I'm sorry. Didn't BLM happen during Trump?
Organized to make sure that their vision is shoved down the throats of children. So the left should be organized as well. But ultimately, when it comes to these types of propaganda videos, you won't necessarily know the impact that they have until a long time from now. But it's cause for concern because even though polls might give us hope about Gen Z and how the future generation is much more progressive, things can change, right? Political views are dynamic. They're not static. And one year you can think something and then you agree with the right on one issue and then you start agreeing with them on more issues. Things can change. So that's why you can't take anything for granted, right? What looks like a future political win or, an end of the Republican Party given current polls just means that they're going to adjust their strategy and they're either going to change their rhetoric or ramp up the propaganda. And that's what we're seeing. And so the point of this video is for me to just tell you to be aware of it. Not that you weren't already aware of it, but also it's important to point out because as they accuse everyone of pushing woke indoctrination in schools and corporate media, well, they're the ones who are actually doing it, which makes sense considering every accusation is a confession. So, yeah, we'll leave that there. That's the type of propaganda that you're seeing or that you will see in some schools.
No, you guys win. You guys are going to win. You're going to be the dog that catches your own tail. Republicans are going to win. You fucking fascists are going to do it. Maybe Joe Biden gets another 4 years, maybe. But you're going to do it. You're going to take over, and you're never going to let go. You're never going to let go. You don't fucking care. You don't fucking care. You're going to get your authoritarian dictatorship. And you're going to be begging for mommy. You're going to be pleading for mammy so bad when that fucking tyranny hits you like a ton of fucking bricks. Let me tell you something. Nothing's more brutal than state violence. Especially when it's directed against you because of your ideology. So you fucking pathetic conservatives are going to get exactly what the fuck you deserve. And I can't fucking wait to see it. Quite honestly. I can't fucking wait to see it. Goddamn right-wingers. They're going to get it. They're going to get it. You think January? Do you think they're done with January 6th? That's it? Oh, we tried January 6th. Now we're gonna change our party. They haven't changed a goddamn thing. They've doubled down. They found clever little excuses, hand waving excuses. Oh, it wasn't that bad. Wasn't that bad, guys. Come on. Zantifa or something. Zantifa. Snake style kung fu. Snake style kung fu, I don't really enjoy. You know, because, like, you can't do that with your hand. There was a movie. Go ahead and we're done talking about Vivek. I'm gonna do something for another hour, something pointless. I don't give a shit anymore. Here we go.
The Florida Ethics Code is very clear. The governor or any public official is not supposed to be taking gifts meant to influence a future decision or reward a past decision.
One of the largest and most politically influential home builders in Florida essentially gave the governor a $30,000 golf simulator.
A golf simulator.
Fuck RFK, dude. You fucking maniacs. You know, RFK RFK is a great distraction. He's a great little lightning rod for I mean, for the people that just insist on their candidate being full of shit. They just insist. Oh, it's not quite right if he's not a total con man. Buy his fucking book like he wants you to and just shut up about it. No one's voting for RFK, you fucking guy.
That was installed in the governor's mansion in 2019.
Good man. You idiot.
So we heard the governor has this amazing golf simulator
You're
that was gifted to
you're
him by a
grifted,
real
man.
estate mogul. And we as constituents try the golf simulator.
A couple practice swings.
You're grifted.
No, I don't think so.
We knew this wouldn't be easy. People like us don't usually benefit from Ron DeSantis' deals with wealthy political donors.
Security told us there was a list that we could get on to possibly play it.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a great day. No matter how hard we tried, we couldn't get access to the golf simulator. So we had to settle for one.
Well, why you gotta show up looking like you just escaped fucking prison for you know what? Holy shit, you look like the Unabomber and Jared from fucking Subway had a goddamn love child, bro. Why are you dressing like you're so suspicious? It's ridiculous. Was the mustache and pedo glasses too much? I don't know. Maybe let's wear some infantile shirt, wrinkled up shirt. Make me look like I'm, you know. I mean, come on, man. Throw on a fucking coat. Jesus.
No matter how hard we tried, we couldn't get access to the golf simulator. So we had to settle for
fuck
one
RFK.
that was
Unfollow
more in
me.
our
I don't
price
give a
range.
flying figgity fuck. You're on kick, dude.
Way past it.
$30,000 is an extravagance for people like us. But for Ron DeSantis,
Unfollow,
it's
please.
just the tip of the iceberg.
Ron DeSantis has raised record-breaking sums of money as governor of Florida, and a lot of that money has come from some of the biggest businesses in both the state and the country as a whole, as well as
He
many
called
of
me
the
a kid.
country's
That's
billionaires.
adorable.
That's Jason Garcia. He knows the Florida swamp better than anybody.
I've been an investigative reporter.
Any objective look into RFK, what he's about, what he's talking about, what he supports and who's supporting him, shows that he's a grifter. Shows that he's cynical. Okay? So if you're on the RFK train, you're either you know about that and you don't care, or you're delusional and you're an idiot. So which one is it? You know? It's all right in front of us, man. It is like literally all right in front of us. It's like Jill Stein as well. It was like all right in front of us. It really was. You know, and Cornel West, he doesn't have any ill intentions, but he just has the worst political instincts I think I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen such an academic person know so little about politics. It really does take like a corrupted, poisoned mind to understand this disgusting system. Like, Cornel West doesn't get it, dude. He is clueless. He's absolutely clueless. It's almost adorable if it wasn't totally tragic.
In Florida for more than 20 years now. I specialize in covering the influence big businesses have in public policy.
The story of the golf simulator is a window into how this often works.
It was technically a loan through this really obscure entity known as the Governor's Mansion Commission. But essentially what it allowed is Ron DeSantis to have access to a $30,000 golf simulator at the Governor's Mansion provided by a real estate developer who needs help from state government.
Wait,
the DeSantis administration has...
Did he say $30,000 or $300,000?
...to have access to a $30,000...
Wait, $30,000 Okay, look, I mean, I get it. That's a good chunk of change, but it's not like, I don't know. Is this the best example that they could come up with? Or was this the one that they could get a lot of B-roll on and they thought it'd be flashy because it's video games? Could we find a better example than $30,000 worth of corruption, guys?
Golf simulator at the governor's mansion provided by a real estate developer who needs help from state government. The DeSantis administration has steered tens of millions of dollars to a highway interchange project.
Okay, now we're talking.
Where one of the main beneficiaries is going to be a development being built by this very same home builder.
Okay, yeah.
Ron can't help himself. The guy just loves golf.
So the Tampa Bay Times actually obtained this internal memo where the governor's political staff was planning to essentially sell access to the governor, in part by using the golf course. They had an actual price list. Golf in a foursome, $25,000 per person. You want to golf one-on-one with Ron DeSantis? $100,000. Folks have figured out this is really a good way to build influence with him.
Not
Dog, that's pay for play, dude.
being able to use the golf simulator, that hurt. But it's the least of the damage the Floridians are experiencing as a result of DeSantis' fundraising. Florida is now officially the inflation hotspot of the country, and that didn't happen by accident. If you live in the Sunshine State, there's one issue that's impossible to escape.
Housing generally is the #1 issue in Florida. Cities like in Miami, Orlando, Tampa, Jacksonville, everywhere is dealing with affordability crisis.
5 of the 10 most overpriced
It's
housing
everywhere.
markets in the US are in Florida.
Wow.
The rate of evictions and foreclosures is the second highest in the country.
Wow, and yeah, this is DeSantis. He's just kicking people out en masse, huh? Heartless fucking bastard. He doesn't care. Yeah, it's crazy. You know, it's like it's the same direction as the neoliberals. It's just the neoliberals do it slower because it's the same problem over here in Canada, but it's just happening slower. It's expedited with DeSantis.
So what have DeSantis and the Florida legislature done about it?
The main thing they did is they passed this, essentially what was one giant industry subsidy for apartment and affordable housing developers. Now, what it didn't do is provide any sort of immediate relief or immediate protection to people already housed, right? This is all a play to build more housing, but obviously most of that will take years to play out.
Without any meaningful relief from the state, tenants across Florida were forced to turn to local solutions.
This may be the last year that I live in Orange County, a place where we've created so many memories because we can no longer afford to live here. So I am in favor of rent stabilization.
In Orlando, 60% of voters approved a measure calling for temporary rent control. This was the most modest form of rent control you could imagine. It would only have stopped landlords from raising the rent more than 10% for 1 year.
At the same time, other cities and counties passed their own laws.
Do you know how huge a 10% raise in your fucking rent is? I'm sorry, there's probably a lot of teenagers who are, you know, still on mommy's teat over here, don't fucking understand the dynamics of this. But do you know how big a 10% raise in your rent is? That's astronomical, and they were just asking, like, you could only raise it 10% every year. And they're like, no, we want more. We want more. Fuck you.
To provide extremely basic protections for renters.
Things like, if your landlord is going to kick you out, they have to give you at least 2 months' notice. Or if they're going to raise the rent more than 5%, they have to give you 2 months' notice.
These modest tenant protections consistently attracted broad popular support, but they were extremely unpopular with one very powerful group of people.
The landlord industry, particularly the larger corporate developers, hate this sort of stuff. So they went to Tallahassee and they got the legislature and Ron DeSantis to pass a law that invalidates all those local protections that have passed the last few years. I don't think people have quite appreciate just how enormous this law was. This law that Ron DeSantis just signed stripped protections from more than 1.5 million renters in Florida.
So that's what DeSantis has done for renters. But what about homeowners? Florida's homeowner insurance rates are more than 3 times the national average.
They're winning. They're winning. TPUSA is winning. Ron DeSantis may not be winning his presidential campaign, but he'll win re-election in Florida. You know, unless someone more extreme replaces him. The left is too checked out. We're so checked out. But it just doesn't matter. They're setting up a system where even if the entire state votes votes left, it does not matter. They're always going to win. That's going to be the new reality. They're going to make all that into law with the right-wing Supreme Court. They're going to make all that gerrymandering stuff, all these special laws that allow them to, oh, we don't like the result of that election, so we're just going to go back and do our own little election with our own councilmen. Oh, we looked at the election and we found the right winger actually won, guys. I mean, they're doing it, man. They're going to win. Joe Biden doesn't have it in him. Hakeem Jeffries doesn't have it in him, man. They're not doing anything different. They're just saying, yeah, you see, we did it. We got him. He's in jail. And, of course, Trump should go to jail. Rudy should go to jail. Mark Meadows, jail. All of them, jail. Absolutely. The rule of law is more important than anything. So this threat that we're going to riot. Oh, we're going to riot. We're going to riot. Watch out, we're going to riot. Well, do it, bitch. Riot. You know, I'm not scared of it. America shouldn't be threatened by it. What we should be threatened by is the next Republican presidential administration, especially if they have some kind of horrid supermajority with the Supreme Court the way it's at. It will be the end of democracy. We'll still vote. We'll still do all that shit. You know, maybe they'll make it harder, but we'll still get to. I mean, they vote in Russia. They vote in China. Right? You get to vote in China. What an absolute farce. Right? But you're voting. Do you think they vote in North Korea? I bet they do. Just to make Kim Jong-il or Un feel better. Who is it Il-un? Kim Jong-un. It's Un. Il is the other one. Il is the daddy who died, but didn't really die, by the way. The dad that died is actually still in charge, because actually his dad before him is actually technically still in charge. Yeah, didn't you know that? The North Korea is actually the person technically in charge of North Korea is dead. Everyone after that original emperor has just been like the caretaker of his empire while he's away, I guess.
But for one, Florida looks like this, making it extremely vulnerable to hurricanes and flooding.
The property insurance market in Florida
they're coming after democracy.
For a few years now. What you have is many insurers just leaving the state altogether, and those that are staying are raising premiums at record paces.
Crushing insurance
it's actually really happening
before hurricane season even enters its peak.
So how has DeSantis responded to all of this?
Ron DeSantis has signed several pieces of insurance legislation since he was in governor, all sort of ostensibly built around this idea that we're trying to stabilize the market. But what these pieces of legislation have essentially done is given the insurance industry things that it has been lobbying for years in Florida, more than a decade in some cases.
The big bill DeSantis signed was in December 2022. It had three major provisions.
One, it took away the rights of customers to sue their insurance companies if they don't pay claims on time or if they delay or deny claims unfairly. Two, it made it easier for insurance companies to raise rates even higher than they already are by taking away the risk that they might lose customers to a state-run insurance option. That's a place to find insurance without having to worry about, a profit motivation. And three, they've extended an enormous amount of public subsidies to the industry in the form of below-market reinsurance. That's insurance companies buy for themselves. Under Ron DeSantis, the state of Florida has extended the amount of publicly subsidized reinsurance by $3 billion.
You think that with subsidies this big, there would be a few strings attached?
Critics would tell you that if you're going to be providing this essentially taxpayer-backed insurance to insurance companies, then there should be some immediate corresponding reduction that consumers see the benefit of the risk that they themselves are taking on.
we have yet to see any signs of relief for consumers. DeSantis, meanwhile, has been rewarded with $3.9 million in donations from the industry. It's a similar story for energy costs in the Sunshine State. Some of the first lobbyists to join Ron on the golf course came from utility companies that have since donated millions of dollars to his campaign. And it's not hard to guess what they were lobbying for.
Rates have gone up significantly in Florida, and that's partly the result of the three main power companies here, Florida Power and Light, Duke Energy, and TECO, all won the right to dramatically raise their rates.
So the moment, so if you want to know when the moment will be when the dog catches his own tail, it will be when the right-wing constituency, the ultra MAGAs, those who vote for this, that consistently vote against their own self-interests, it will be when they realize we have no more scapegoats. The liberals are no longer in power. The immigrants are all kicked out. We have Ron DeSantis implemented a system that makes it nearly impossible to hire an illegal immigrant. Abortion is out of the way. We've banned transgenderism and all the gender stuff. All the woke stuff is destroyed. We killed woke, we killed gender ideology. We got rid of all that. So why are my, and we installed a dictator. We literally installed a dictator. Why are my prices still going up? Why are my energy prices, my food prices, my gas prices, all these things were supposed to get better if I just installed this dictator who made America great again, right? Where's this greatness? Where's my greatness? That will be the moment that the dog catches his tail. And of course, it will be far too late. The Schadenfreude, maybe it'll be sweet, but it will be bittersweet.
Just a couple of years ago, FPL is the state's biggest utility. I think it's got more than 6 million customers in the state now. It also got the biggest.
I am abandoned nihilism. The dream. I am abandoned nihilism, so I don't agree with you. But what I fear, the scenario that I fear, is we, through apathy, will allow this fascistic element to, completely install itself, and only then will the left, whatever that may mean, right? The moderate left, the neoliberal left, and the progressive left, will actually unify around the new fascist government that will never go away until we do something about it. That's the scenario I fear. We could, if progressives aggressively took over the neoliberal Democratic Party, we could prevent this. If AOC did more power leveraging instead of capitulating, we could see this stopped. We could make fascism illegal again, right? But right now, your cynicism is correct. There are not enough lefties that are engaged, that are following my 3-step program. There's not enough lefties out there that are doing that. And we're in big trouble because of it.
Rate increase by far, roughly $5 billion over 4 years. It's an enormous rate increase, far bigger than anyone has ever seen in Florida before.
Energy bills got so high that residents in the Panhandle started organizing petitions and protests against the company. But one man in particular made all of this possible.
Ultimately, the elected official most responsible for this is the governor. The electric companies in Florida are supposed to be regulated.
I got to do the Ron
by this body known as
DeSantis.
the Public
I got to do the
Service
Ron
Commission,
DeSantis smile.
where each of those
which
appointees
is like,
are appointed by the governor. And one of the things we've learned over the years is very few political appointees go against the governor's wishes on any sort of major decision.
My view is, we want to have affordable energy in the state of Florida, and we're committed to doing that. And
that's the Ron DeSantis
that's where we're going to
smile.
be on that.
Okay, so we've covered what DeSantis has done to the cost of housing, insurance, and energy. All
See,
issues
look,
that average Floridians
look at it.
are
I mean, look at it
painfully
right there, right here. See what I mean? It's right there. It's like, it's like, is this what smiling is, mommy?
familiar with. But there is one huge story that has completely flown under the radar. It's about, wait for it, tax policy.
Just before his reelection, I did a study looking at every tax cut and tax increase that Ron DeSantis signed
this
during
ought to
his
be
first
great.
4 years as governor. And what we found is that he had cut taxes.
They got a little taste of authoritarianism. They got a little taste of what a dictatorship will look like. And they're not going to let that idea go, man. Steve Bannon wants it to happen. Charlie Kirk wants it to happen. Tucker Carlson wants it to happen. I think Tucker Carlson, though, I think he just wants to see America collapse just because he thinks it'd be funny. I honestly believe that. I think Tucker Carlson thinks it'd be really funny if America just completely collapsed. I think he would find it really hilarious.
Taxes for businesses by more than $5 billion.
They're nihilists.
But he had raised taxes on consumers by more than $1 billion. So, his record would tell you, look, we've cut taxes by $4 billion, but that's because there was a $5 million tax cut for businesses and a $1 billion tax increase for consumers.
And the businesses we're talking about here aren't mom and pop shops.
We're talking about companies like Disney, like Comcast. The very largest corporations have saved an enormous amount of money in taxes under Ron DeSantis.
It's important to remember all of this when you see DeSantis going after quote-unquote woke corporations like Disney. For all of his culture war rhetoric, there's another side of DeSantis that he doesn't want us to see.
Being very aggressive and very loud on culture war fronts is very effective at distracting folks from realizing that a lot of the economic policies that are being passed are not necessarily in their best interest. People are too busy thinking about things like transgender athletes in competitive sports to notice that, hey, your taxes are going up while Disney's go down.
Now that DeSantis is running for president to make America Florida, we should ask what that would actually mean.
I think you will see an administration that is very focused on the policy needs of the wealthiest taxpayers and investors in the economy, and then trying to make the case that we will all ultimately benefit in some trickle-down way from that.
That's what they said about the golf simulator, and well, we all know how that story ended.
They're taking it all.
That's the sad truth about how things actually work in
choice.
DeSantis' Florida. The
They're
rich
up against
give
the
gifts to the
8 ball.
governor. He hands them billions in return.
And look at the smile. It's like when Wednesday Addams pretended to smile for her. You remember that movie, Addams Family Values, where Wednesday Addams pretends to smile to make her camp troopers happy. Fuck it, I'll show it. I don't care.
Yes, indeedy, just the ticket.
This is Ron DeSantis, guys. Can we see my microwave?
Good
yeah, it's right
evening.
here.
Is there anything you'd like to say to everyone?
Yes. And just what might that be?
I'm not perky. That's for damn sure. But I want to be.
Oh, Biden's inept. She's a neoliberal.
I want to smile and sing and dance and be Pocahontas in Gary's vision.
Yeah, Johnny, no, man.
Do you really mean it?
You're going to win. You're going to get your fascist dictatorship, dude. It's going to happen. So here's Ron DeSantis right here. Watch this. Yeah, it's great. Then she looks all loony.
Isn't she pretty?
I know liberals are the fascists. Yeah. How many? No, wait a minute. Walrus, can you tell me how many insurrections have the liberals planned and executed? There's got to be like 5 or 6, right? So anyway, that's Ron DeSantis. But no, Walrus, you're right, bud. Both, liberals are the real fascists. How many books has a liberal banned? Call when BLM. Oh, that's exactly. That's an insurrection against the government, right? How many Capitol buildings did BLM burn down? Did BLM? How many did they insurrect? How many Capitol buildings did BLM protesters go invade? 100? Like 200? No, I know, dude. No, guys, there is no difference between BLM protests, which were all riots, except 90% were peaceful. But there's no difference between BLM protests and the January 6th insurrection. Those two are exactly the same. Didn't you know that? It's true. And if that's not true, look at the stats. Mostly peace. Over 90% of the BLM protests were peaceful. But yes, some McDonald's and some Wendy's got burnt down. Some Apple stores got broken into. Whole streets got shut down. No, guys, it's the same thing. Look, one side had a president say, meet me here, right? Worked up a mob. That mob worked its way over to the Capitol, broke into the Capitol chanting, hang Mike Pence. Ashley Babbitt was about to break through the final barrier into the area that the politicians were in, and she was shot dead. That's the same thing as when a police officer, Derek Chauvin, choked a black man to death by putting his full body weight on his spine for 10 minutes. That's the same thing. Listen to me. Killed that guy, and that caused a bunch of black people across the nation, and white people, mind you. I participated in those protests. And a lot of people got pretty pissed off about that. That is actually the same fucking thing. That's my thought. I gave you my thoughts, Walrus. I agree, buddy. It's the same thing. An attack against, a democracy that's existed for over 100 years, an attempt to decertify the election after hundreds of millions of people have voted. I'm calling in. Oh, don't bother. I'm not doing that. Are you fucking with me? I'm going to ban you immediately from my Discord. Just leave, dude. I'm a libtard. I'm a limousine liberal. I'm a limousine liberal, guys. No, I'm not talking to you. Fuck you. But you're going to win. You guys are winning. You're going to win. What are you going to do? Hey, come on. Fascist in the chat. You guys are something else. What's the first thing you hope happens once your dictatorship is installed, right? Once you get Trump and he never leaves, but let's just say the first year, Trump's first year. Bitch, I'm not talking to you. I am not talking to you. Are you kidding me? I would rather have testicular surgery than talk to you. You win. You win. You already win. Yeah, no, you got all the best arguments, guys. BLM's the same as January 6th. That's a great argument. You got me. I know I can't define fascist. I literally can't. So that means you get to be as fascist as you want. I can't define it. So you get to be as fascist as you want now. So you win. You guys win. No, you win. That's a great argument. There's no way. I have no idea what a fascist is. I just use that word because it makes me feel good. You win. What do you want? What are you going to do? Trump wins. Do you hope Trump gets himself out of jail? Right? He'd like pardons himself from all the federal stuff and then changes the AG in Georgia or something, does something to help. And he's got to make himself innocent, right? Day one. Oh yeah, I'm sure you would love a civil conversation. Oh, you right wingers are such bad actors. Do people still buy this shit? Do people still buy into your little grift, your little game? Define a fascist. Do you know how many times I've heard define a fascist by a bad acting right wing grifter? I'm shaking. I am utterly terrified. Yeah, no, I'm terrified for the future of the country because you guys are winning. Yeah, absolutely. I'm shaking. I am legitimately terrified of Steve Bannon's agenda, of Nick Fuentes' agenda, of Charlie Kirk's agenda, of Tucker Carlson's agenda. I am 100% legitimately terrified. No, I'm not. I'm smiling because that's how I handle fear. You know what I mean? The future of America, when you guys get what you want, the future of America, when you guys get what you want, is going to be a dystopian nightmare. You and your MAGA and this neo-fascism that you've created, right? I mean, will legitimately destroy America, the American democracy, this experiment. At the very least, it'll be put on pause. I can't define it. I have no idea. I just make shit up to sound smart. You win. You win. You're gonna get all the transgenders. You're gonna change all the schools. You're gonna get everything you want. Do you think the prices are gonna get any better? Unemployed energy, not gonna lie. I'm so unemployed. Do you guys want to see my newborn baby that I'm broke, so I can't afford to have? I'm raising it off government money, off welfare. See, that's my welfare baby. He's sleeping. Isn't he adorable? 100% government money. That blanket, Obama sent it to me. He's still sending shit with your money. I'm flexing my baby, not gonna lie. Is that lit cap dab? What's the word you kids are saying now? Riz? Does that mean like jizzing on stuff? Are you guys jizzing on stuff? I'm scared of fascistic change. Yeah, no, I'm scared of authoritarian change. Yeah. My wife's boyfriend. Yeah, no, yeah. I'm a total cuck. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm everything you need me to be so that you can write me off. Whatever you need, honey. Oh, I love how you keep saying civil. Are you a jerky boy? I'm going to ban you the moment I open up my Discord. It's like a level of attraction. Oh, thank you. So it's like jizzing on things. You kids are jizzing on everything, huh? All right. First you were eating ass. Now you're jizzing on everything. All right. The right be comparing Trump to Jesus. I smell cult. No, Dream. It's no cult. He's the rightful owner of America. Didn't you know? Flirting, not jizzing. Oh, so it's the rizzing, then the jizzing. You know what's Angel? Let me tell you something funny. You seem like a young person. First of all, you will get older. I hope you do. So stop. Zoomers need to stop pretending like you're not going to get older. But I'm 24. Okay. Well, I'm 36, 35, 36, something. You want to hear something that's funny? You won't. I didn't realize this until I was 30. It's really, really fun to ruin slang words for children. To like use slang incorrectly and like awkwardly. Adults have been doing it intentionally our whole lives. Yeah. Yeah. You know, when they were like, oh, you know, that's really slamming. that's really radical. They were actually doing that intentionally because it's really, really fun to ruin slang, the mod, because it sounds ridiculous. It sounds utterly ridiculous to an adult's ear. Oh, Riz, no cap. What? It sounds, I know, I'm a boomer, right? I know, but something happens, some switch flips, and you children all sound fucking ridiculous. It's true. I know, your boy, you win. Buddy, you win. You guys win. What's the new fascist future that we can all look forward to? Come on, guys, let us know. What am I blabbering about, right? Just liberal nonsense, right? Talking about how I want to, I'm gonna get. You know what I'm gonna do with my kid? I'm gonna force him to wear a tail, and I'm gonna make him poop and pee in a kitty litter bin, because I want him to be a cat, because I'm a degenerate, because I'm a liberal, right? I know. I probably will, to be honest. No cap. There's no caps here. Look, I don't even have a cap on the bottle that I drink water from. It's like this cool little thing. I got it from IKEA. When I took my family to IKEA that one time when we went to beg for Obama bucks. We were begging for Obama bucks to buy IKEA furniture because we hate America. Your boy, you win, buddy. Congratulations. I was so terrified. There was literally no way I could defeat you in a debate. You would win that debate, dude. Scratch it down, man. Another liberal slammed. I'm utterly triggered. Shaking. Literally shaking, dude. Look at this hand. I mean, it's some deep vibrations. Well, clearly a master debater. That's why I was terrified. I didn't want nothing to do with that. I'm fucking terrified, dude. The right wing, you've won. No, I'm not being facetious. The right wing has won in America. The TPUSA is far more effective than any liberal organization I've seen. Right? You guys love TPUSA, right? PragerU getting taught in schools. I think it was 3.5, maybe 4 weeks ago, the polling put Trump and Biden neck and neck. That was before the Georgia indictment, which is a complete fraud, right? Total fraud, right? I mean, 91 charges, 4 separate indictments. Obviously, he's innocent on every single one of those. Every person involved, top down, hates Trump. I say it with a straight face, right? Must be true. Must be true. I know what CAP is. It means capture the flag. Got him. Ooh, Dana Bash.
Joining me now is 2024 presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. Thank you so much for joining me.
What is this? What is the smile? Why? You got a big, goofy smile. Why are you doing this? Am I having
2024 presidential?
Yikes! It's like someone told him you're smiling too big, and you look smug. And he's getting all this advice, dude. You nailed it. They want the smugness. Stop listening to these advisors, Vivek. Look at the smile. Why is he doing this?
Joining me now is 2024 presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy.
He was coached to do this. Look at the fucking smile, bro.
Thank you so much for joining me this morning, sir. I want to start with
debate.
what I began
was that
the
covered
program
up the whole
with,
time?
which is
You couldn't actually see it? That'd be funny.
Racist shooter killing 3 black people in Jacksonville yesterday. What is your reaction to the shooting?
Cap.
It is such a tragedy, and my heart goes out to those families.
Thoughts and
this
prayers,
should not
dog.
be happening in the United States of America,
Yeah.
and it is wrong. The reality is we have a mental health epidemic in this country.
Yeah,
there
nothing
are
to do with
reports that
guns.
this particular individual, the perpetrator,
Nope.
was indeed evaluated for mental health deficiencies
Zero
as
to
well.
do with guns.
And I think we need to have the courage in this country
Nothing
to bring back a practice of
to do with
putting
guns.
back psychiatrically ill people who
Yeah.
pose a risk
No,
to
it's
their
great.
communities into
So it's so interesting. The only policy he actually proposed on the debate stage was this proposal to bring back loony bins. And of course, look, it's like it is an interesting thing because, you know, there used to be these loony bins, basically psychiatric wards, where if you were, you know, caught on the street defecating in your own pants, they wouldn't throw you in jail. They'd throw you into one of these loony bins. And you, in crazy scenarios, you could have like a family member sign off that, yeah, no, I think this person's insane, and then you get, what was it called? There used to be a word for it. But anyway, it's almost an interesting idea. But does anyone truly believe that the modern right wing party, would fund properly? Right, it would turn into what they normally were, which were these halfway homes where doctors would, you know, if the doctors would, if they were even there, would at best just try to keep people from, like, you know, hurting themselves and, you know, give them some kind of comfortable life. But I mean, the conditions in some of these were atrocious because they were underfunded. I couldn't imagine what the modern Republican Party would come up with in terms of, you know, a mental health, you know, you know, like a loony bin, right? Like a place where, like, oh, you're a junkie on the street of LA, you know, they throw you in there. They don't throw you in jail. It's something different. I couldn't imagine how inhuman that would be. There's just no way they would do it in a way that would be considered humane. I just guarantee it. I don't trust the fascistic Republican Party to do anything. To me, this just sounds like, yeah, no, because he wants to look like Rudy Giuliani, like when he cleaned up Times Square by just shooing away all the porno shops and, like, using eminent domain and just kicking out all these businesses and putting in a bunch of fucking Rudd fuckers and a bunch of other fucking terrible businesses. He wants to do the same thing with homelessness. He wants to build a bunch of fucking homeless gulags and, you know, say I fixed the homeless problem by just, like, shoving all these human beings into God knows where. Like I said, I couldn't imagine what these people are going to build if this man gets what he wants. This man's a goddamn billionaire. Is he a billionaire? Or is he just like 800 million? Or was it 800 billion that I saw? Or was it 800 million that he's worth? Whatever.
Psychiatric institutions, not just drugging them up, but faith-based approaches and other approaches that fill our longing for purpose and meaning in this country. I think it is just a shame that we even have mass shootings like this, be it the one that happened in Florida, be it the recent one, the Nashville shooter in a Christian school, killing 6 in a school. We have to address that mental health epidemic, and we need leaders with the courage to do it. But my heart goes out to those families, and I hope something like this never happens again.
Mental health is one aspect of
He hopes
these
it
shootings,
never
and
happens
apparently,
again.
and we're still learning a lot about what happened. The facts are still coming out. Also, this was very much apparently racially motivated. The sheriff there said point blank that this shooter had manifestos.
What is the problem, Dana? Are you incapable of saying the word guns? Chuck Todd did the same thing. This is basically the same exact interview from Chuck Todd here. Are you incapable of saying the word guns? I guess she doesn't want it to be bogged down in an argument about guns, but clearly that's what you were alluding to.
Coming 3 manifestos, and said specifically that he went to this dollar store with the intent of killing black people.
I think that is heinous and deserves to be called out for what it is. The reality is we've created such a racialized culture in this country in the last several years that right as the last few burning embers...
Right, yeah, no, the left's attempt to destroy racism, to create equity and equality, is actually creating racism, because you're showing everybody that since racism exists, racism will then always exist. and it's a perpetual cycle. The only way to break this cycle is to hide racism, is to make the concept of being racist illegal, not make the concept of racism illegal, but just the concept of being racist illegal. That way I can be as racist as I want and no one can tell me I'm a bigot. Because you're the bigot for calling me the bigot.
Of racism we're burning out.
Brilliant.
We have a culture in this country largely created by media and establishment and universities and politicians that throw kerosene on that racism. And I can think of no better way to fuel racism in this country than to take something away from other people on the basis of their skin color. I've been saying that for years. And I think that is driving, sadly, a new wave of anti-black and anti-Hispanic racism in this country. I think the right way forward is if we want to stop hate and discrimination on the basis of race, let's stop discriminating on the basis of race and see what unites us as Americans, because I do not think this kind of racial division and any division is good for us as the United States.
The only way to stop racism is to stop acknowledging that racism still exists. Fixes everything.
I believe that there are a lot of people of color in this country who don't think it was just lasting embers of racism, but that a lot more work had to be done, particularly given the history of the systemic racism in this country with slavery and beyond. I want to ask you about a comment that you made about white supremacy in Iowa on Friday.
I've never once encountered that yet. I'm sure the boogeyman white supremacist exists somewhere in America. I've just never met him. Never seen one. Never met one in my life, right? Maybe I'll meet a unicorn sooner. And maybe those exist too.
So just
see what I mean? Racism the only way to fix racism is to ignore racism. We can't fix it. We can't make society more equal. We can't fix these prejudices. These prejudices are natural. And the fact that you would tell me I need to change means you're against my free speech. My bigotry is my free speech. It's interesting. It's a new way to look at very old ideas. It's a fresh coat of paint on a big steaming pile of poop. And he's so proud. He's so proud. He's like, oh, I can't wait. You're going to give me all this power if I say this stupid shit. He's too focus grouped. He's too focus grouped. I don't know. The smile at the beginning is telling me that he's listening to too many people. He's got too many chefs in the kitchen right now, man. You got to stick to what works, right? That's what Trump does. Trump doesn't listen to anybody. Trump does Trump. That's how you really do Trump, is you go, no, there's no conceivable way I could be wrong, ever. And if I was wrong, then it was because someone else lied to me. And yada, 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 the old liar's prayer.
Just because somebody hasn't encountered one doesn't mean that the notion of white supremacy doesn't exist as a threat in America. What do you think goes through the minds of the families of the 3 victims in yesterday's shooting when they hear you say
strategy,
white
you're
supremacy
quite correct.
is basically a fantasy?
I'm sure they're grieving for their loss, and I don't want to politicize those victims. Dana, this is a very sensitive situation where we should have nothing but foremost respect for those victims and not bring them into partisan politics. But I was responding to a question where someone asked me, what racism have I experienced in recent years? And I answered honestly. Most of that racism has come from the modern left. It's happening during the course of this campaign. Kara Swisher calling me Ramasmarmy the other day and reveling in making twists of my last name. People effectively reducing me to the color of my skin and my attributes. That comes today from the modern left. But the reality is,
do you
this is
acknowledge,
part of
though,
a
that
dogma
white
in this
supremacy
country.
does still exist in the United States?
I acknowledge that all forms of racial animus exist in the United States, including fringe branches. I mean, that's clearly what was at the head of this mentally deranged individual responsible for this shooting, yes. But I think there are many forms of mental derangement that cause us to see one another on the basis of our skin color and our attributes. And I think what we need to revive, Dana, and it's my job as the leader, hopefully as the next president, to do this, to revive our doctrine of e pluribus unum, not just celebrating our diversity and our skin-deep attributes, but celebrating what unites us across that diversity. That's what we've forgotten in the United States of America. Our true strength is the set of ideals that unite us. That's my job to revive as our next president. And I think that the next generation in particular is so...
It's such a dangerous and effective thing to invert the language of progressivism, right? To make a claim that all the left's meager attempts to equalize society in honestly such small ways. We have so much more to do to make us all equal. But just those small attempts is not the attempt to emancipate everyone, right? But of course people of color, but everyone, LGBTQ plus. But no. It's an attempt to destroy them. The real Americans, quote unquote. The real ones, right? Not the fake ones. The real ones. It's actually an attempt to destroy them. All this liberalization of society. And it's so funny to me that it's being undone so quickly, because this liberalization of society was the compromise that the neoliberals gave us for their corporatism. The neoliberals said, look, we're going to be just as corrupt as the Republicans. We're going to take as much money. We're going to do all that. But you get to represent yourself. You get to love as love. You get to marry who you want to marry. And if you're a woman, you have control over your uterus and all these things, right? So we'll throw you a couple social bones, but we're going to be just as corrupt and fill our pockets. And that was the compromise, you know? And they're just dismantling it at a record pace. It's all going up in smoke. Abortion gone. It's one more Republican administration to go, and that's the end of abortion in America. Fascinating.
Starved for that. Starved for commonality. Starved for a nation that is unified, bigger than the sum of its parts. That's what we need to recreate in this country. And to those who say the remedy to pass
that's why he'll be president.
Discrimination, I say no. The right remedy is actually abandoning all discrimination and moving forward with colorblind meritocracy in the United States of America.
You took it to another level on Friday. In addition to the comment we played, you took issue with.
Yeah, isn't a meritocracy great when you're already on top of the meritocracy? When you're already got a big fat bank account? Isn't it great when everything shifts into a full meritocracy, when your pockets are so fucking bulging, it's obscene? And it's so funny, the poor people that agree with this mindset, because they, like, you know, they're the temporarily ashamed millionaires, right? Oh, you know, can't encroach on a guy's ability to get rich. Oh, okay, Mr. Moneybags. It's your shift at Walmart's about to start, dude.
The comments from Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. She reportedly said, quote, "We don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice." About that, you said, "These are the words of the modern grand wizards of the modern KKK." You know, I'm sure, the KKK was responsible for more than a century's worth of horrific lynchings.
I gotta say this, though. I do need to say this as a critique on the left. It is kind of funny to see, because I do see this a lot on the left, that there is, and I guess Destiny does kind of a good job of calling this out, but there is a heavy reliance on race-based language, right? Of like, we got to stop whitey, that kind of stuff on the left. So it is interesting to see the left, who has become very comfortable speaking, using the language of race, seeing that thrown back in their face and weaponized against them. Because it should be a project to eliminate the concept of race. It shouldn't be a project to normalize race in any kind of way, right? To legitimize it. We should fix the inequities that exist as quickly, as swiftly as possible. But it should ultimately be a project of eliminating the concept of race, because it's a political concept. It's not a concept based in biological reality. Are there doctors who only work on black people, for example, because their organs are all inverted? They're like bizarro humans. They come from a different dimension. No, they're human beings. They just have a slightly different skin color because of a fucking couple digits in their DNA was slightly different, because their ancestors lived closer to the fucking equator. So what the fuck are we talking about? You know, when it on the left, when it comes to like normalizing the concept of race in any kind of way. So it's interesting to see that weaponized and thrown back into the left's face by a dishonest right-wing grifter, right? That's what we get for being intellectually dishonest. But it's also, you know, like, I'm a white guy, right? And I've been born with inherited privilege because, you know, I got it easier because I was white. Even though I was raised in a trailer park, it would have been even harder for me if I was poor, raised in a trailer park, and black. That's just a fact. And, you know, we got to fix those inequities in society. They absolutely exist. Systemic racism exists. But there does, I mean, where, you know, I guess the idea is we'll just reach a certain apex of equity, a certain apex of equality, and racism will disappear. And I guess eventually the concept of race would disappear. But I don't honestly hear too many lefties talking about that, because, I mean, a race-based narrative can be a core part of their message.
Rapes, murders of black people. How in any way are the views you're talking about comparable to the views and atrocities committed by the KKK?
What I said is the Grand Wizards of the KKK would be proud of what they would hear her say, because there's nothing more racist than saying that your skin color predicts something about the content of your viewpoints or your
You didn't just say they
ideas.
would be proud. You said these are the words of the modern Grand Wizards of the modern KKK.
It is the same spirit. You're right about that, Dana. I think it is the same spirit to say that I can look at you, and based on just your skin color, that I know something about the content of your character, that I know something about the content of the viewpoints you're allowed to express. For Ayanna Pressley to tell me that because of my skin color, I can't express my views, that is wrong. It is divisive. It is driving hate in this country.
He knows exactly what he's doing.
That is a debate.
He's walking all over these clowns.
Violent discussion that you just said you're using rhetoric, which she said she's using rhetoric. That's one thing. And another thing is to say that she represents, and she is a modern version of a KKK, which, as you know, was dedicated to the subjugation and violence against black people. How on earth is she a modern day wizard?
Let's be intellectually honest.
Kind of organization?
It doesn't matter strategy. None of this matters.
Let's be intellectually honest and get to the heart of what this debate ought to be about. There is a worldview that says that the remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination. That if you're black or brown, you have to have a particular point of view. That's from Ibram Kendi. That's from Ayanna Pressley, the people I quoted in my speech yesterday.
But can
There's
you
a
have an
different view
intellectually
that I have, which
honest
says that regardless of who you are,
when you accuse
have to
her
be able
of
to have your own
being a
opinion.
grand wizard
Let's
of
have
the
the debate.
KKK? Can you have that
I think that
intellectually
the
honest
point is-
discussion with that kind of rhetoric?
Yes, I can, Dana, because the point The point I'm highlighting is that even the people who, in good spirit, we all agree that the KKK was an
as long as
awful
he says the right
organization
thing.
that is a toxic
I think
stain
Republicans
in our
are willing
national history.
to look.
So given that we can start from that point of agreement, now that
Someone's got to replace Trump. Okay. You can't stop this train. We need a Trump replacement. DeSantis, for a brief moment, hey, maybe he could do it. He can't do it. So they're desperate. I think that desperation means that they'd gladly go with a brown guy, especially if that brown guy is effectively weaponizing the language of race against the left by claiming, that, the left are the real racists because they're the ones obsessed with race. We're the ones that want to move on and just treat everyone the same, treat everyone as a broke-ass bitch that we can take advantage of because that's capitalism, baby. We're the real egalitarians. We want to fuck everybody in the mouth equally and violently. We don't care. We will exploit you. Woman, child, old man, young man. Exploit, exploit, exploit. There's plenty to be exploited. Doesn't matter the color. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. And we've seen it before, but he does it so well. It's coached. He's a little green. He's got some work to do, but he's basically got it. He's basically a couple more months of this. He'll have it right down pat if he can keep this up, if he doesn't buckle from the pressure.
allows us to say, well, who actually sounds more like that organization today? The people who are calling for more racial discrimination on the basis of skin color. So yes, I think that is an intellectually useful starting point for a provocative discussion that we need to have in this country.
The whole point is
and I
the
think
KKK wasn't just about rhetoric.
We have to speak openly.
They lynched people, they murdered people, they raped people, they burned their homes.
And that was wrong.
Simply
that was
because
obviously wrong.
Wrong.
Okay,
so again,
that is obviously a wrong
if you
thing
want
for
to have
them
an
to have done.
intellectual
Absolutely.
discussion, do you think that maybe comparing her to the Grand Wizard and the
I like that Dana isn't letting him escape from this. This is the third time she's pushed back on it. So I appreciate that.
the notion of what she said to being a modern leader of the KKK was maybe a step too far, or you stand by what you said?
No, this guy doesn't do coke, dude. He's a fucking weirdo. He doesn't have any vices outside of his little desire for power. He probably, his wife is probably, a little Ivanka, Yes, sir, no, sir.
I stand by what I said to provoke an open and honest discussion in this country, because there is a gap, Dana, between what people will say in private today and what they will say in public. I think we need to close that gap. I think we need to have real, open, honest, raw conversation as Americans. That is our path to national unity. And there are many Americans today who are deeply frustrated by the new culture
I'm
of
just not
anti-racism
sure how
that's really racism in new
provoking a
clothing.
discussion-
And we need to have
No,
that debate
sir.
in the open.
I'm
Dan, I
straight
think
I'm
they're
not so
doing,
sure how
with due
provoking
respect,
a
what many in the
discussion
media do,
of-
picking on some fringe comment in the context of a broader context that I was offering it in a speech.
All right, so
avoiding
you
the
just
meat
said that
of
your
the
comment
issue.
was fringe.
Let's have the courage to confront the meat of that. No, I'm saying you drew a
You
fringe
just
comment from a
described your
much
comment
longer
as fringe.
speech. As I described you picking one fringe comment from a long speech that I gave to duck debate from the real issue that I think you don't want to have, Dana, because I think you probably agree with me on this, that this is toxic
I think that
rhetoric
this debate-
from leading politicians on
debate
dividing
is-
us on the basis of race. And I want to have
I
the
think
open
this
debate.
debate is fascinating.
So there you go. I mean, he just put this whole, idea into her mouth, basically. She's kind of ignoring it, trying to regain control. And to a dumb brain, that means Dana agrees with that assertion that he just made, and that she's too afraid, just like what we saw in the chat earlier, right? You're too afraid, you're too afraid, you're too afraid, and Dana's probably, she's avoiding that because she's just too afraid, to confront what Vivek is, the reality of what Vivek is saying, right? It's great. What up is down, left is right. None, it doesn't, words don't matter. Words don't matter. Not on the right.
Fascinating and interesting and opening and important. What I did was
I do too.
explain to our viewers that you were asked a question and you took it to a point where you called a sitting member of Congress who is black, who was having discussions about race, calling her the modern grand wizard of the KKK. And I'm just not sure how that's open and honest discussion.
And he won. He won. Once again, the strategy is to talk up the clock. Vivek knows, they all know that they only have a certain amount of time. So in this case, they got 10 minutes. With Chuck Todd, he got 18 minutes. So he had to run out that clock. She only had 10 minutes. She got to ask him 3 times. Wow, really? So they're just as bad as the Grand Wizard of the KKK? No shit. And he had full control. I got to say, he had full control. I mean, he really does know how to play the media. It's really not hard to play this media. They want to be played almost. It's seemingly. They don't, I mean, I don't get it. I honestly don't get, sometimes. Because it's like, don't you want people to take you seriously? All right, folks. That was my depression stream. I cleaned my garage today. I made a lot of great progress. It was good. It's 12 o'clock now, so I got to go to bed because I have a job that I'm not too fond of right now. They're winning. I don't mean to. I'm a banned in nihilism. I believe in existentialism. I believe in hope after nihilism. I believe in hope. Thank you, strategy. But the objective reality, is that the Republicans are on the cusp of doing it, of completing this project. No, I mean, that's it, strategy member, is that there isn't always the next election. That's the apathy, that the cancer that is going to allow these guys to win. They're nullifying democracy. You'll still vote. You'll vote. Won't mean shit, but you'll vote. That's what's going to happen after the next 4 years. Republican gets another 4 years. That's going to be the project. I guarantee it. It'll be some loophole, some rule, something that allows them to just do whatever they want, basically. So, peace in that motherfucking Middle East. Glory to the Ukrainian democracy. Go play some Earthbound. I should have played some Earthbound instead of watching 3 hours of Vivek Ramaswamy. At least I know how to say his name correctly now. He'd call me a racist if I got his name wrong. So effective. So effective. Get a slick person of color to emulate Trump. And use the language of race, of anti-racism against the left to deflate the left in a debate, right? Because we've become far too dependent on being like, oh, well, you're clearly racist. They're like, well, yeah, they're kind of right. But now they can say, no, you're being racist against me because rejecting my bigotry, rejecting my ignorances is just as bad as racism. In a way. Because they've tied that to their whiteness, right? So you're not just eliminating their whiteness, you're going after their race. So you're the one. It's reverse racism. It's in one of his 10 commandments. Reverse racism is the worst kind of racism. Well, off-word colonist. Well, you caught me at the very end, bud. It's 12 o'clock. I got a 9 to 5. I gotta go wake up for work. My job Monday morning, 8 o'clock, sometimes 7 o'clock in the morning. Monday. Coffee chat. A fucking meeting. A meeting with other people on Monday morning. People I work with are nice folks. Just in case they are nice folks. It's just a meeting on Monday morning, 7 a.m. sometimes. No, it's not in face. Thank God. You don't have to have your camera on. They're not evil. Okay, they're not evil. They're just, we're trying like hell to get this to work. This IT situation at our company. It's something else. So. It takes a lot of effort. But thank you for coming here. I'm going to do this as a rerun on Monday. Yeah. I'm so privileged. Aren't I, off-world? Yeah, I'm not like you, and I don't live on an off-world colony far away from Earth on one of those off-world mining colonies. I'm going to be streaming tomorrow. Well, it's going to be a rerun of this. I'm going to do a rerun of this, but I'll be in the chat. I'll be in the chat if you want to talk to me. You sure it's not an evil villain who needs to remain anonymous from 007? I'm not sure anymore. If someone handed me a novel and it contained the story of like Donald Trump and this whole presidency, I'd throw that shit in the trash. Be like, I don't read, I only read comic books of the highest quality. This is trash. Some guy who poops his pants on fucking some game show gets to be president? What? It's a terrible script. All right, folks. Catch me tomorrow for the rerun. Peace in that motherfucking Middle East. Bye. What if it's a comedy book? Wait. You have to admit the past 7 years would be seen as AAA world-class writing. It's not. It's not. It sucks. The story sucks. Characters suck. Joe Biden's a W? What? As in withered old man? When is he gonna die? This week or next? I would take Joe Biden's corpse over Trump. I would take Joe Biden's urn over Trump. Wanted for possession of CP. You guys wish. The Republicans are desperately trying to pin anything legitimate on Hunter. They're just getting him on a couple things. They got nothing on Joe Biden. Certainly no child porn. They got none of that. That would be page one, dude. That would be like they just dedicate a whole network to talking about that one story. Yeah, no, colonists. It wasn't minors. It was just a bunch of high-class hookers, Wasn't no minors. High-class hookers. I mean, Hunter Biden doesn't want to fuck with it. He wants, like, a real woman. He needs a real woman. He's all cranked up on crack. Smoking crack? You can't have no fucking runaway in there. No, you got to have a pro in there who knows what's going on. If it exists, I'll throw him to the wolves myself. There ain't no fucking. What are we talking about? What are we even talking about? Look, how about here's a challenge for you fucking idiot right wingers. There's like a million things to criticize Joe Biden for. Spoiler alert. There's like 10 million things you can criticize Joe Biden for that the left is like, yeah, no, that's real shit. The guy has been in politics since the days of Lincoln. Okay? Johnny Carson. Okay, look. Oh, look. All right, I'm going to do this, dog. He's been around so fucking long. Johnny Carson had time to do a fucking joke about him.
Democratic candidates is Senator Joseph Biden. Have you seen the problem he's been having? Now, on the political scene, one of the Democratic candidates is Senator Joseph Biden. Have you seen the problem he's been having? He went around and made a speech. And apparently, he quoted I think it was a British politician, took his speech and kind of paraphrased it as his own. And then the press got on him, and then he was charged also with taking part of Bobby Kennedy's speeches. And Biden says, not to worry, he reassured his staff. He said, we have nothing to fear but fear itself.
Get it? Get it? Because he's being accused of plagiarism? Damn, dude. No one does it like fucking Johnny Carson. Okay, so look, my message to Republicans is please, for the love of God, Biden is you got Biden on CP. How about you get Biden on the fucking plagiarism when he started his political career? How about you get Biden on his fucking crap-ass, milquetoast neoliberal policies? At least Trump knew how to do that shit, right? Trump would rub it in, be like, boy, I bet you Democrats really wish they gave you Bernie over Hillary, right? I bet you feel burned by your party right now. You clearly wanted Bernie. You didn't want this, legacy Clinton holdover. You wanted something new, and they screwed you over. Trump knew how to do that. Anyway, I gotta go. But fucking Republicans, there's a million things to shit on Joe Biden for. How about we get serious, huh? Help us out. Help the progressives out by pointing out some of his faults instead of making up absolute nonsense. Oh, yeah, no, Biden eats nachos out of his fucking butthole. Who fucking cares? Nothing matters anymore to you fucking nihilists. But you've won. You've somehow won. So enjoy your fucking pile of ashes, you pieces of shit. This is abandoned nihilism. All conservatism can suck my entire a-hole.